Are we live, friend? Hi, folks. It's your girl Narise, and I'm back with another live stream, per usual. Well, kind of. We're getting back to a more regulated situation. I know I didn't really post or say that I was going to be going live, but here I am. And I know it might be a little random, like, okay, we're still talking about this, 100 best albums. Yes, we are. Because I feel like some people are still talking about this list, and some folks are like upset that they aren't um, on the list. And I was thinking about some other artists and other albums that could have been considered too. And like I've said before, I think I'm not getting upset about the things about who's missing and who's not. I'll mention it, but I'm not like butthurt about it. Um, and because it's like let's be real. Billie Eilish made the list, but not Patti LaBelle. You know what I mean? So it's like, and it's no shade to Billie. Billie's an incredible artist, and she's very talented, and she has great music. But it's like, like there's so many angles that you can argue this, and it's like, you know, SZA made the list, but Janae Aiko didn't make the list, or whoever. Like, you can, and Alicia Keys didn't make the list. So, but at the same time, it's 100 out of all the albums in the world, and I feel like this particular list leans towards a younger demographic, even though there are some classics and old school folks up here, like living legends. But there's so much, you can argue so many different genres, and that's the thing too, is different genres and all those things. So I'm not getting into all of that. Like, there's so many ways that you can argue this, you know and I just wanted to give my perspective and my opinions about the albums and the artists that I'm familiar with. And I wanted to finish the series, even if people might not stumble across this video until, like, I don't know, a year or however long later, and then say they binge watch this collection of live streams, and it's like, oh, you did 1 to 3, but you got to do 4. So here I am finishing it. I said I would be back here to finish it, and I am, because I'm a woman of my word. So with that said, as a woman of my word, we're finishing part 4, Apple Music's 100 best albums. Let's get into it. Without further ado, or basically, I'll do a quick little intro. I'm Nerisse, for those who don't know. Some of you might know me from my music and my creativity. Some may know me from some situation that's kind of like a Truman Show. I don't know. That's a theme that we're going with. It's an insider. If you know, you know. If you don't, you might know more than me. Who knows? But in my world, I'm an artist. I'm a creative. I'm a singer, songwriter, um, instrumentalist. I just got back into producing, and I'm a visual artist. I like to style projects. I'm really into fashion, and I like to do visual art and do different types of edits and direct my own visuals and photo shoots and stuff like that. And I like to talk pop culture. I like to talk music. I'm a fan of music and film. I'm really into science too, a little bit of astronomy. And I think astrophysics is really cool. I'm not like an expert in it, but I do like to read about it from time to time, or see what's going on with the cosmos. So yeah, that's the quick update on me. If you want to check out my music, I have an EP called Divine that didn't make it to this 100 best album list, but technically it's an EP and not an album. So I'll let Apple slide on not having Divine by Nerisse up here. But it's an EP that's on all streaming platforms, or you could purchase it from my website on narisse.com. I have physical copies. I have purple CDs. Let me do my little shameless plug, because I'm an artist out here too. And I didn't make the 100 list, but I'm grateful nonetheless. Um, but we got purple download Divine CDs. I don't know. You can cop some of those, and then we also have limited edition flash drives at the time of recording this. Maybe this might be sold out by the time some folks might get around to it, but I have different colors. And we got orange, we got like a pinkish situation, and green. And each flash drive have different pictures on them. And it all has the Divine EP, a lyric book that I put together because I am a songwriter and I wrote all the music. And there's affirmations on there because I'm one of those type of girls that's all about affirmations and positivity and raising the vibrations and such, regardless of the narrative that's pushed on the Truman Show. um, I'm here for the healing and elevation of humanity as much as I can with the resources that I have. And yeah, and so make sure to follow all my social medias, like, comment, subscribe to this YouTube channel. I'm mostly posting on TikTok at this particular moment of recording this live stream. So follow me on TikTok. My artist page is at underscore Narisse, as you see it spelled right here. And my pop culture TikTok account, where I do videos kind of like this, but shorter form, where I talk and discuss what's going on in the music industry and different topics, mostly about music, is Narice at NarisseM. So it's just like this, but a M at the end. And follow me on Instagram and all those things. If you're watching on YouTube, it's in the description below. If you're watching on Kick, it's on the panels. If you're on Kick, follow me on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, maybe get on Kick and follow me there. Let's help get this page monetized. At this particular time of recording this video, we're not monetized, but in the near future, shout out to us being monetized. We finally made it over 1,000. Celebrating in advance, manifestation and all. But for now, we're really close to 200. So I'm really proud about that. I've gained about like 15 new subscribers so far. So thank you. In this month since getting back onto social media, because I had been off of social media for a few months, not too long after like my birthday, and because my father passed away at that time, so I was just kind of like dealing with that and just trying to figure out like what is my existence. I know my existence, but there was a lot of other things going on at the same time, and that was a catalyst to kind of like have me take a break from what I was working on. But I'm back. We're back. We're here, back, and I'm better. So yeah, Bryson Tiller ain't make the list. Trap Soul ain't make the list, and apparently at one point there was bad reviews on Trap Soul. Who said the bad reviews? I'll fight them, because that album has no flaws, no skips. So how can you be mad at Trap Soul? Like, and I only say this because in recent interviews he's mentioned that he was really self-conscious about that album because of negative reviews, and I'm like, where? Like, I've in my recollection, you know what I'm trying to say. That has been a very popular album. The girls love the album, and there's so many bops, and I think what he did was really like, he really created his own sound and style. Even though I know he's not on the list, but we going give some love to some really dope artists out here, because that's what I do. So yeah, shout out to Bryson Tiller. But this is about me. I'm gonna have a little selfish moment because I'm not on this list. I'm not even in the industry, even though some people on this list may have seen my work and been inspired. We'll say that. But yeah, so if you enjoy the vibes, if you've been watching a few videos and you stumble across this, and you're not subscribed already, please do. Only if you want to be here though. Like, if you're here to troll and do all the shenanigans, like, it's okay. You don't have to watch. You don't have to be a part of the live stream. You don't have to subscribe. It's okay. I really don't need it. But if you really enjoy what I have to offer, if you enjoy my wonderful personality and my bright aura and spirits on this planet, then welcome to the village. That's what I'm calling my fan base, my tribe of folks, because they often say it takes a village, and sometimes there's folks that feel like loners and outsiders and misunderstood in the world because maybe their village just wasn't up to par, or whatever reason. And I'm really a firm believer about creating the things that you want in this world and creating the spaces that you wish to have. So because in my own life I felt like an outsider and misunderstood and ostracized and criticized and all those things, I figured, what, if I'm not welcomed in certain spaces or people don't receive me a particular way, that's fine. I'm not your cup of tea. That's fine. Don't force it. But I'll create my own space and my own world. And that's what we're doing here on the Nerisse platform. And, and if you resonate with that, and, and even despite the shenanigans that goes on over with, refrigerator chests and, grocery store shenanigans and, Truman like activities, if you don't get what I'm talking about, it's okay. You probably do though. If you don't really care about all that BS, but you really enjoy my personality and what I have to offer and my creativity, because I get on here on these live streams and I show my creative process of making beats and recording music and stacking vocals and, doing vocal arrangements and producing myself as an artist. If you really enjoy that creative process, then you're welcomed here at this village. But if you're here to troll, don't come here. You're not welcomed. And yes, I will be gatekeeping just like people try to gatekeep me. But I gatekeep for a reason, because I mean well, and I really want this to be a safe space, and I want this to be a space where people feel seen, heard, respected, and have a good time, because life can be a drab sometimes, and every now and then I might get into like my little rants and my deep conversations and motivational chats, but we're here to have a good time for this particular video. So all right, we're a little bit like 10 minutes in. All right, so that's my quick intro. You get an understanding of who I am. Check out the music, follow the page. Let's get this monetized and up to the subscribes and all those things. And now let's get into the albums. So the last album I talked about was Kind of Blue by Miles Davis, which I am familiar with this familiar with this album, but I listen to jazz from time to time. Like there's certain artists that I'll listen to. But I can't tell you like, oh yes, I really love this song. Like this is one. I already explained that project, so we'll just skip to the next, because I was about to go into a whole thing that I know I already said. So if you haven't already watched it, make sure you check out my previous live streams of part 1, part 2, part 3, and I did it by 25 albums, or technically 24 because of just how the order of it went. But either way, I did it by sections of 25, so it wasn't a whole lot in one, because your girl can be long-winded sometimes. So, all right. Next album, I'm not gonna lie, I do know David Bowie, but I'm not familiar with his music like that. Damn, this album title. See, this the shenanigans I'll be talking about right here. Okay, hold on. Because this happened to me like quite a few times. Oh my goodness. I'm just trying to get the full title of the project, y'all. Okay. The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. What a title. That's how we're starting. Can't get away from that planet even if I wanted to. Um, anyway, if you know, you know. This is an album by David Bowie that I'm not familiar with, so we're going to skip it respectfully. Shout out to David Bowie, RIP. He's a legend in his own right, and, such an innovative creator. But actually, let me see something. I do know that one song, Let's Dance. I hope I said that right. Let me just make sure that's not on that album. Because I might be able to just talk to that one song. Mm, 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 mm. Oh yeah, I know Space Oddity. All right, hold on. Let me see. I was in my mind. I was looking at that like, well, we just gonna skip that, John. Yeah, I don't know nothing on here. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know this album. So shout out to David Bowie. We're gonna respectfully skip it. Okay, Discovery by Daft Punk. I know this album. I recently, maybe like a few months ago, just like played the whole, like I had a Daft Punk revisiting. Sorry, I have my MIDI controller here and it's still like plugged up, so when I'm typing it's like hitting. Okay. Daft Punk. All right, let's see what's on here. Yeah, One More Time, Harder, Better, Faster. There's some other songs on here that I feel like I liked. I'm not sure. I don't remember. I think maybe Digital Love. I remember listening to the album all the way through, and there's some bops on here, but the big songs are One More Time, One More Time, we're gonna celebrate. Oh yeah, a bop. And then Harder, Better, Faster, which Stronger, which people know from Kanye's Stronger, which samples this record. And I remember when this all came out, and like my brother put me onto this song because of the Kanye record, right? I really enjoyed the Daft Punk record too, because I know like everybody was really familiar with Kanye because he kind of put light to this song. But I liked both versions. Like I could listen to the Daft Punk version and really just bop out, and the whole song is a bop to me. So yeah, shout out to Daft Punk. Um, that's what we'll get into because those are the two songs that I'm most familiar with. All right, Bruce Springsteen, Born to Run. I don't know this one. I mean, I know who Bruce Springsteen is. Like, I know he's Jersey royalty. Shout out to Jersey. Jersey legends. We love that. But I don't know. I don't know this one. And I really don't know that many Bruce Springsteen songs. But I just know like he has an amazing voice. Like what something that I really appreciate about Bruce is that he has like this grit to his voice that sounds like whiskey and cigarettes, and like a life of adversity and good times. And I just feel like his tone is just incredible. And somewhere where it really shines was I was watching the documentary on Netflix about the We Are the World, and when they put that together back in the 80s with like all the superstars of the time. And and when they got to his part, and just like how they were putting different singers together, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like that, like his tone, he just has that, like, it's that grit, and it's undeniable and like duplicatable. Like you can't just like copy that, and there's people who have like similar sounds, but it's like it's not just something that you could just do, you know what I mean? It's like a one of one type of a thing. And I will say that's something about Bruce Springsteen that I really think is amazing and dope as a artist. And shout out to Jersey. Okay, 21, we got the Beatles. All right, look, I'm just gonna let y'all know this now. We're gonna skip through quite a few. And you know what, when I was really thinking about it, in between my time on here, like since the last time I did a live stream, I was like, yo, I feel like I don't know enough of these like alternative rock albums. But but the thing is, I do though. It's just the albums that I listened to didn't make this list. Like I listened to, well, not recently, but there was one point in time where I listened to a lot of Coldplay. I listened to a lot of Phoenix, and those were albums that I really rocked with. And this list, and I realized I don't even think there's any Coldplay on here either. And I'm like, how Coldplay, Parachutes, or like Viva La Vida not make the list? If we're going based on popularity, which I feel like a lot of these albums are, like maybe like the most popular album of a particular artist. But there's only 100 spots, and then you got some people that was on here multiple times. But yeah, like some of the artists that I listen to, like projects, I'm like, they didn't make the list, and so I feel like, damn, like I'm like, because I know I'm in tune with other genres. Like a lot of the music that I listen to is more geared towards R&B and hip hop, but I do listen to alternative music and rock, and and from different generations too. But I think what really exposed me to it was Guitar Hero, and and how they have different projects from different generations. So they have like songs from Metallica, and then they also have songs from, and they have like Jimi Hendrix, and Van Halen, and those groups. And they also had like the Strokes, and I'm trying to think of more like recent people they had on there, like Smashing Pumpkins. Even though like I guess they wouldn't technically be recent, but around the time when I was playing Guitar Hero and when it first came out. Um and just like newer bands, and so that kind of like exposed me to that genre. But um yeah, the music that I listen to, like the albums that I know I rock with, like Nirvana, I feel like Nirvana is on here. Never mind. That if that should be on here. Sorry. Okay, yeah, Nevermind is on here. I was gonna say, like, I know Nevermind. Okay, so we can get into it once we get there. But anyway, that's beside the point. All right, Beatles. Now I'm gonna say I don't listen to the Beatles. No shade to the Beatles. It just it just never they was alright to me. You know, they got some good songs though. Some of them. Let me see what's on here. See if there's anything that I know. I know the dog song. "I'm like a dog, sleeping like a log." Don't judge me, y'all. I haven't heard that song in a long time. But I knew that song because of a friend of mine that I used to hang with at the time. Um, okay. See, the only thing that I think I know on here is the Yellow Submarine, but I don't know it enough to say like, oh yeah, that's my jam, or I don't like that song. Like I can't even sing that song to you. I don't know the melody. No shade to the Beatles. I do know no, I know the Wings. Shout out to Paul McCartney. Um you know, but I know like that one song though. Um is it Band on the Run? Band on the Run. Dum 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 dum. Thanks to Guitar Hero. Yeah, yeah, Band on the Run. That's my shit. Um, yeah. So, for those who don't know, it's a band that Paul McCartney had. I'm assuming after the Beatles. That would make the most sense. But yeah, it was after leaving the Beatles. So yeah, Band on the Run is a bop. But I know that's not what we talking about right now. All right, Beach Boys. I don't know none of them Beach Boys songs, respectfully. So there's quite a few. We gonna do a lot of skipping right now. Okay. Um, I don't know enough of the Beach Boys songs. Hi, hello, welcome into the live stream. Um, so we're gonna skip that one. If y'all know some Beach Boys songs, let me know. You know, but I hear Beach Boys are dope. I just haven't gotten into them. Um, so yeah, shout out to them though. So all right, The Chronic. I know this album. I know this one. Okay, hold on. So, all right, let's see what songs are on here. Nothing but a G thing. Okay, okay. I don't know the whole album, but I know the hits on here. I think. No, actually, it might be the other Dr. Dre album that I'm more familiar with. Ooh, the titles of these songs. Whew. Okay, Lord. Nothing but a G thing, little ghetto boy. Rat a tat tat. Lyrical gangbang. The Roach. Dre Day. Lord. Ooh. These nuts. A nigga with a gun. Okay. All right. Don't want to come across him. Stranded on death row. That sounds kind of crazy. Um, but hey, it's not my lived experience, so who am I to judge? Um, Actually, I'm not super familiar with this album. I know this album, but it's the other one, the with Explosive on there, that I think I know more songs on that record. Um, so actually, I'm sorry, Dr. Dre, we gonna have to just roll on by you too. But hey, shout out my nigga Dr. Dre. He made it on the list. He on the list, and Eminem not on the list. Shout out my nigga. It's like now Eminem is on this list, but Eminem's further back, which is interesting. But anyway, all right. So 1989, Taylor's version. They made sure to put Taylor's version on here. Okay, Taylor Swift made it on the list, and she is number 18. All right, shout out my nigga Taylor Swift. Um, what's on this album? Before I like completely skip her, I know I do know some Taylor Swift songs, and I'm not a Swiftie. Shout out to the Swifties. I don't want no smoke. I'm not a Swiftie, but I will say, there was a point in time in my life where I didn't really care for Taylor Swift, especially because she was dating Taylor Lautner, and I had like a major crush on him, like in middle school, and I was like, she's with my man, so no, I don't like her. But that was years ago, you know. But I can say now, as an adult that's grown and evolved, I she got some songs. She got some bops. Like, people that be trying to like shit on her. I'm like, now we not gonna act like she don't got hits. Okay? And she has a plethora of hits. And yeah, sure, okay, like she might not be like the best vocalist in the world, or anything like that. She's a really good songwriter. She knows how to write these hits and she writes her songs. So shout out to her being a writer, and she plays guitar, so she's an instrumentalist. And I think she plays piano too, if I'm not mistaken. I don't follow her enough to know, but I feel like I've seen in the tour footage that she played piano. So like she's a musician, she's talented, and she writes these songs, and the songs are catchy. Like, I mean, clearly look at the fan base, I mean, but then again, some people got fan bases and I don't get it. But she has hits and she has catchy songs that like are really good. So, I mean, and mind you, I ain't got no reason to advocate for these artists. They don't advocate for me like I'll be advocating for them. But I'm just saying, I'm gonna give credit where credit is due, because I do that. But I'm not gonna sit up here and act like she ain't got no bops, because Taylor be having bops. But I don't really listen to the albums like that. Child, not me looking up 1890. 1989. Okay. Oh, she gave y'all a whole nother different cover too. But you know what? Shout out to the Swifties, because the fact that she's able to re-record her album, which is annoying to have to do. Like, why does she even have to do all that? Like, come on, these labels, just give these artists their things. Like, give her her stuff. She wrote them songs. Give her her stuff. But anyway, the fact that she re-recorded her album, and the Swifties, they came through and they support and they buy. They don't just stream, they buy them albums. Granted, a lot of them kids got the money to do it, but but they buy them albums. All right, what's on here? Anyway, uh Blank Space, Bad Blood. Okay, I know that one. Style, Shake It Off, Wildest Dreams. Yeah, she got some hits on here. She got some. Now I don't know the albums, the B sides. Out of the Woods. I don't know what that is. I feel like there's a video to that. I don't know that one. But Blank Space. I got a blank space, baby. Now write your name. Like, clever writing. Bad Blood. That's a bop. That's a bop. Yeah, Shake It Off. Hey, gonna hey 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 hey. Yeah, and Style. I don't know. They say that was about Harry Styles, but clever writing. You know, never go out of style. And I worked at the mall for a long time, so there was no way for me to not hear these Taylor Swift songs. So I mean, that's really the main reason why I know, because I don't really. Every now and then I'll listen to pop radio just to see like what's on there, but yeah, nah, working at any type of retail store, you was going to hear some Taylor Swift. Okay. Now it's like Olivia Rodrigo, I feel like, but I haven't been in a mall in a while, so I really don't know what's out there. But yeah, okay, Taylor, shout out to you, shout out to you, you made the list. Yeah, she got some bops on there. All right. Taylor Swift and Marvin Gaye right next to each other just looks crazy. But hey, shout out my nigga Taylor Swift. Anyway, Marvin Gaye, what's going on? Like, this is a bona fide classic for certainly. Um, what's going on? And okay, so I remember watching. I think I was watching like a documentary on Motown and how that came to be. And I forget who did the documentary. I'm pretty sure it was like on Hulu or something like that. It was a while ago when I seen it. But I remember they were talking about, just the transition of when Marvin Gaye was on Motown and then when he kind of left and did his own thing. Because, for those who, when I think of old school music, I don't really think of like the nuances of like the shift in the sounds. I just think of the artists that I like and the songs that I don't really know like, oh, this album came out in 74. And then, and during this time, the doo-wop sound was phasing out. And then we were doing more of this. For me, I didn't grow up in that era. So I wasn't there for all the shifts and the changes. But I grew up hearing old school R&B through the radio of what my parents were listening to. And when listening to those songs, they mix all of that in there. So, as a kid growing up, I'm just hearing all the old school music. I'm not hearing like, okay, these records were from the 70s versus this record from like early 70s versus late 70s or whatever. Like, I mean, you can hear the differences between like, okay, these are songs that came out in the 80s versus like the 90s and stuff like that. But for me, like, I just knew I loved Stevie Wonder and Marvin Gaye. And but I say all this to say, I remember in that documentary they were saying there was a point in time where they were doing more like, how to describe that music, like not doo-wop music, but kind of like that, like Supremes, early like Stevie Wonder. Then you had like, was it Jackson 5 was a little bit later. That was like in the later in the 70s. But with Marvin Gaye, he was there from like, the style that was really popular in the 60s. And then he wanted to do more of soulful R&B, like the records that are on this album. And and when he was at Motown, they wasn't really feeling it. They like, nah, just stick to what we doing. And then kind of knowing that history a little bit and knowing like, okay, he was kind of branching off and finding his own sound. And then we get an album like this. And also was really dope about Marvin Gaye too, because like, that's when he was venturing off and then doing records like Sexual Healing and Let's Get It On and stuff like that. And a point that Dr. Cornell West, who is running for president, who is a candidate, not that I have any reason to, be advocating or like, or whatever, but just a fun fact that's out there because I have a post that's kind of like going viral a little bit on my pop culture page about the election. And people are like, oh my god, I don't want to vote for Trump or Biden. I'm like, there's other people. Now I get it, there's like the whole thing of like, oh, third party people don't win or whatever. And they have to have a number of polling to even be on the ballot in certain states and to even qualify for the presidential debate, which is coming up this month. If there's gonna be a debate, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with these candidates that we have right now, because I think like Kennedy is like just barely scratching the surface of being able to make it to the debate. I hope so, just so there's another option. I'm not like crazy about Kennedy, but I think there should be more options is all I'm saying. But anyway, something that Dr. Cornell West said, but I do feel like he has one of the best moral compass. And I wish he had the same, like, I wish his movement had the same excitement as like Bernie Sanders. When Bernie Sanders was running and like he got like this whole like heavy grassroots campaign. And I didn't mean for this to get political, but I'm there's gonna be a point. It's gonna be a full circle. But I do want to say, I just feel like if somehow, some way, Dr. Cornell West was able to get that same excitement behind his movement that Bernie Sanders did, and that like the whole feel the burn movement, because I was with Sanders during that time. I was definitely like a supporter, and he got a lot of high ratings in polling. And I wish, I don't know, maybe somebody could put it out there. This is an idea that I hope somebody runs with. If somebody could do like a documentary on Bernie Sanders and his presidential campaign run, because like I was looking up stuff online and I just didn't see anybody really talking about it. Like there was stuff about um him, like his history in politics, and then like interviews of when he was running. But I want there to be like a documentary of the how he was able to like build that excitement, like, and it was really grassroots. And I think he was really one of those people that weren't taking like really big donations from corporations, and just like the excitement and how he was able to build that movement even though he didn't win, which he was so like, and but there was a lot of people rooting for him, and there was a lot of conversation about around Bernie Sanders. And I wondered like what was that thing that made him blow up, and how can the third party do that even though he ultimately like got onto the Democratic ticket. I want somebody to do like a case study and do a documentary and just kind of like really get into it. So if somebody, you know, puts that together, just give me a little bit of credit and like, okay, Reese said that idea. So, because these hoes like to take my ideas and don't want to give me no credit. But it's all right. But at least like, I feel like that's important because my thing is I feel like Cornel West, a lot of his moral compass aligns with the things that Bernie was saying. But I wonder what is that thing that had people so excited about Bernie, and why that, how could that have transpired for him and his movement. But anyway, I say this to say, when Cornel West was on the Breakfast Club talking about, um, his campaign and everything, something that he said was like, it's what made Marvin Gaye really interesting as an artist is like, there's a space and time for, you know, let's get it on and what's going on, and to be able to make music to balance the both energies of like, and expressing himself, with his sensuality and sexuality in the music, but then also making an album like this, what's going on, where you're talking about issues in the world and in the state of humanity, and the fact that he was able to do that and it not be like like pandering or like like hokey type of a thing. um I think that was really interesting and really important in music. Like you have songs like God is Love, Save the Children, it's, and Holy Holy, which is like one of my favorite gospel songs, specifically how Aretha sang it, because Aretha Franklin's amazing. But I feel like it's an important album, and not just R&B but in existence. So I'm glad that this made the list. Shout out to Marvin Gaye, even though I kind of went on a political tangent here, but it was on topic though. What's going on, what's happening with the world, and politics, it kind of goes along with that, right? um but yeah, shout out to Marvin Gaye, rest in peace. All right, Joni Mitchell. Joni Mitchell never lies. How we know that? It's like, nah. Shout out to Joni Mitchell. Um, I know some of her songs. I know the song that was sampled on "God Till It's Gone." Okay, I don't know none of these songs, so I'm not even going to review it. But shout out to Joni Mitchell. I do know who she is. She's a great folk artist, and a legend. So shout out to Joni. She on here. Okay, Adele, 21. Now, out of all Adele albums, what's on here? Let me see what's on here. I forget what's on this album because sometimes I get this album confused with 25. I think Hello was on 25. Yeah. Okay, so okay, actually, you know what? This valid. This is a valid album. Um, okay, Rolling in the Deep, Turning Tables. Turning Tables is my shit. Set Fire to the Rain, Take It All. I don't think I care for that song like that. One and Only. Okay. Someone Like You, big song. Rumor Has It, big song. Um, Don't You Remember? I don't know if I remember. If I heard it, then I know what that one is. He won't go. Okay, not my favorite song, but I can hear that one. Are we waiting? And love song. All right, you know what? This was a solid album. And all the singles ate. You know, I think it's really interesting that an artist like Adele can, be as big as she is. Not that, um, you know, like she makes good music, and and I get it, but Adele, I feel like how radio works, like people want to like advocate for like the upbeat pop song as if people don't like ballads, but people like ballads, and I don't know. The only thing for me about like Adele, I haven't really like been into like Adele in a while. Um but I will say like very similar to Drake. I feel like she figured out her formula and she sticks with it. She knows like the sad ballads are her bag, and she she delivers every time. And she switches it up a little bit from time to time, but for the most part she has her signature thing. And and I feel like, if it works, it works. But yeah, okay, shout out to 21. Bob Dylan, Highway 61 revisit. Okay, not the zoom in, child. Um, okay, back it up, back it up. Oh, I don't know this one like that. I'm not gonna lie. Like I know they say Bob Dylan's one of the greatest artists ever, and he's an amazing writer. I don't know some of his songs like that. So if you know some Bob Dylan songs, let me know. Um, Shout out to Bob Dylan. He passed away, right? I think. I feel like a while ago. Oh, he's still alive. Oh shit! It's like, no, I'm not trying to kill Bob Dylan. Wait, no, he is he really still alive? I wouldn't know. Okay, like forgive me, y'all. I wouldn't know because I don't listen to that man like that. Oh, he is still around here. He is okay. Because I was about to say R.I.P. Child, I'm not trying to kill Bob Dylan, y'all. I'm not. Okay. Shout out Bob Dylan. He's still out here, alive and kicking as he should be. God bless, and many more years. Okay, all right. He in his 80s, living his best life. Okay, I didn't know that. I did not know he was still around here. All right, go off, Bob. Hey, Bob. Okay, Blueprint, Jay Z. Let's see what's on here. I'm not gonna lie, I'm more familiar with Blueprint 3, and that's my personal preference. I really love that album when it comes to Jay Z albums. I know he has like a million albums, and did I listen to them all? No. But I know a lot of the Jay Z songs. I like some of the Jay Z songs. I'm not a fan of nothing. I could rap some verses word for word, but that's beside the point. But I think I was intentionally raised to be that way. So, you can thank my father for that, because he's about like the only rapper that my dad liked. So I don't know. Maybe they were friends like in the hood, because I would joke with my dad and say like, you might have been a gangster in a secret life. And I feel like I'm right. Um, but yeah. Shout out to my padre. Um, yeah. Um, Blueprint. What's on here? Izzo's on here. Jigga the nigga. Okay. Um, all I need. Okay, there's some bops on here. Girls, girls, girls. Take over. That was on the album. That wasn't on the album. Hold on, I'm reading this the wrong way. Was Takeover really on the album? I didn't know this. Forgive me, y'all. You don't know. No, I didn't know. I didn't know. Song Cry. Okay. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. There's definitely some classics on here. Okay. Yeah, there's some classics on here. Not my favorite album. I also really like the Black Album. I feel like that, or Reasonable Doubt. Reasonable Doubt could have easily been on this list, but I understand why the Blueprint was on here. Like, there's some great songs on here. They're just not my personal favorite of like Jay-Z songs. I don't normally go to these ones. I know, oh my god, that's hip hop blasphemy. Well, it wouldn't be the first time I said something to offend, people in hip hop. Um, but uh, but I do like Reasonable Doubt a lot, and yeah, I feel like that album could have been on here for me personally. Either Reasonable Doubt, the Black Album, when he said he was retiring but didn't retire, but he came back and made some more banger albums. Blueprint 3, I know that's not like really of like a favorite, but I mean, Empire State of Mind was on there, like the big song that's like literally New York's anthem. I don't, is it like the official New York song? I feel like it is, because you can't go to Times Square without hearing that song. Like, you know how people be riding little carriages and you pay to get on the carriage ride or whatever. There's at least like five of them different ones that's going to be playing Empire State of Mind in New York. Like, you hear that every time you're in Times Square. There's never a time when you're not. If not, then something's wrong with New York. But yeah, you got that. You got Run the Town on there. Death on Auto Tune. There's some bops on that album. But yeah. But that's beside the point. And you know what? Jay-Z hot take. Jay-Z hot take. Kingdom Come is not that bad of an album. I said it. I said it. I said it. And I'm not even a fan like that. I ain't a fan of nothing. But I know some of the Kingdom Come songs. I know some of the Jay-Z songs. And I know people like go in on this album and they say like, oh, he could have left that one alone. Lost One though? Ain't that the song with Chrisette Michelle? Show Me What You Got? Hollywood? What else is on here? Wait, actually, I feel like this I don't know. This list don't look right. Let me. He got the song with Usher. I know that's not like the best song on there, but it's a song that I like. Yeah, Show Me What You Got with the drums. Like, come on. What else is on here? Yeah, Lost One, dope song. I feel like Lost One is like the updated version of Song Cry. But it's still a good song nonetheless. Um, do you want to ride? A vibe. Anything you want, girl. Never seen it like this. Because I mean, Pharrell, hello. Um, yeah, I'm trying to remember some of these other songs, but like, okay, like the people be going in on that album. It's not like his worst album ever. I mean, it's not his best, but it ain't the worst. It's not a bad album. It's a good album, and here I am defending the art. Like, because I give credit where credit be due, and I know y'all be like, people be trying to go in on Kingdom Come. I feel like Kingdom Come gets more hate than it should. But anyway, but that's my Jay-Z segment. Um, Radiohead. I don't know none of these songs. Let me see what's on there. I'll give it a chance. I'll see. Um, what's on here? I don't think I know the songs on there. Nope. I don't know none of them songs. Shout out to Radiohead though. Fleetwood Mac. Okay, I know some Fleetwood. Okay, I know Dreams is on there. Go Your Own Way. Okay. Okay, I don't know this full album. I know like their greatest hits album, and there's some other songs like Raina and Gypsy. You know, I know those songs, but Dreams is a classic bop, and Go Your Own Way, a vibe. Um, yeah, shout out to Fleetwood Mac. I really love Dreams, and you know what? I I did like a cover of it a while ago, and like I didn't finish it. I might post it. We'll see. If y'all want to see the cover of Dreams, then put Dreams in the comments, or actually put hearts. Put the little, and let me know. Um, all right, another Beyonce album. Here we go. Okay, Lemonade. You know what? I'm not gonna lie. I feel like when I think of like Beyonce's discography, Lemonade isn't my favorite album. But when I think about the songs that's on here, I'm like, I do like this album more than I think I do. But just because naturally, like off the top, I will always know like my go-to favorites that I know start to finish, for the most part, is B Day, Four, and probably Renaissance. Maybe Renaissance. And maybe even Black is King. Well, Black is King is the film. The Lion King, the Gift, child. I do like the Gift. I know that like people might not count that as an album, but there's some bops on there, like Find Your Way Back, Jada Jada, already. Um, there's some other ones on there. Um, Bigger, you know, I mean, if we're listening for the surface level of things, like they're bops of songs. Um, yeah, and Renaissance, aka the twin album to Q-Tip's Renaissance, because my conspiracy theory is that there's Easter eggs on these albums that might not have any meaning at all, and just for the sake of, oh my god, what's the connection between these albums, you know? Um, the Narice album. But anyway, Lemonade. Lemonade is, I will say, I do think, not thinking of my own like opinion sonically, I do think it's one of her best albums. It's just not one of my favorite albums, but I do think musically it's one of her best, because she gets more personal here. It's the whole like controversy of everything that happened with the elevator situation, and possible infidelity things happening in their relationship, right? And you got songs like Sorry, Love Drought's one of my favorite. Hold on, oh wait, I'm reading this, I'm looking at this the wrong way. See, why would they list this like this? Okay. Okay, Hold Up is a bop. Don't Hurt Yourself. Sorry, I'm not crazy about Sorry, but I do like the demo version. Um, Daddy Lessons, that's when she showed us that she was dabbling into the country side of things. Love Drought, beautiful song. Um, All Night, beautiful song. Freedom's okay. Like I like what it stands for, but it's not my favorite song sonically. And then Formation, a bop. And you know what? The one thing I will say that I really appreciated about the Lemonade album is that the rollout was immaculate. I will say. I felt like the rollout was very clever. From Because I remember like the video for Formation dropped, right? And it was around the weekend of the Super Bowl. So we get the music video for Formation. And then what was that? I think that might have been like a Saturday or something like that. And then there was the Super Bowl performance where she performed with Coldplay. It was Coldplay's performance, but it turned into a Beyonce Part 2 performance. Shout out to Coldplay. And Bruno Mars was there, right? He was there too. He was there for the Beyonce show. But Bruno did his thing though. Bruno and his five guys dancing against Beyonce and her sea of women, right? And then Chris Martin in the background, like popping out, and everybody else in Coldplay. Shout out to them. But we get the formation performance, with the whole um Black Panther, but also like Michael Jackson kind of inspired look. And then during the commercials, I believe there was I think there was the tour announced. There was announcing the tour and the merch. And I remember looking at the merch, and then they had the whole like hot sauce in a bag, bags, and then like lemonade phone cases and all that stuff. And I was like, she's a clever cookie. Okay. And just like putting it all together. And I'm like, the song been out 2 days, but you already got hot sauce bags because you knew that line was going to hit. And I'm like, okay, all right. Like the marketing was very smart. And I peeped that. I peeped that with the rollout of Lemonade. And then, and then Sorry came out as a single later on. Like I said, it wasn't my favorite song, but a bop nonetheless. And yeah, and I think sonically what she did with Lemonade was really dope when she dabbled in different genres, but it all felt cohesive. And it made sense as an album. And I do, like I said, I do feel like it's one of her best bodies of work. Not my personal favorite. In terms of like albums, like, it's not an album that I like immediately go to. But there are some songs on there where I'm like, okay, Narice album, hey, but yeah, it's there's vibes on there. And you know what? I don't be knowing, but I be knowing. I be knowing to know that there's something to know. I'll say that because when this album came out, right, I was like, why this album cover? I was always intrigued about it, and I often wonder about that when it comes to albums. I'm like, why would they pick this cover? What's the intention beyond the the colors and the font and this and that? Because I pay attention to shit like that, and even though like sometimes I don't be knowing about like Truman Show activities, but I do be knowing that there is something to know, and that always intrigued me. Always, when it came out, I was just like, why this cover and why like this, and why, aside from the self-titled album, which is interesting that her self-titled album didn't have an image of her on it. I'm not okay, like why is she covering her face here? Like, why the fur coat? Why the Tahoe? What's behind the Tahoe? What's back there? What's back there, Beyonce? I'd like to know. You know, and it reminds me, do you remember the time? Anyway, it reminds me of in my own personal life. Back when my father had a Tahoe, he had a Drexel Dad sticker on his Tahoe, and I was like, oh, and I was just like, oh, this kind of reminds me of that, in my own life, because who am I, little Narice from Trenton, New Jersey, no big deal or anything, totally big deal, but anyway, and yeah, I was just thought that was interesting, and I was like, wow, okay, I wonder what this is, and then life just kind of hit you years later, and I was like, I always knew that there was something to know. And, because I know the thing about Beyonce as an artist, I know, even though, like, okay, you could, like, just watch the projects and say, like, okay, there's amazing choreography here. There's like 5 different scenes in this video, and this outfit eats. Oh, this hairstyle is dope. And then, people recreate those looks, and, and they pay homage to it. But she's a very intentional artist. And that's the one thing that, as a person with a degree in Beyonceology, um, you know, I'm not gonna lie, I've been slacking in these last few semesters, but early days, yes, hmm yes, I am an alumni of the B University. Um, which is funny because that's the whole like theme of homecoming. But anyway, I know she's a very intentional artist, and I appreciate artists like that. And and I know that, yeah, it looks fabulous on the surface, but I know that there's probably more to it. And there's probably like deeper symbolisms, and even with the symbolism that you think, there's probably more symbolisms even with that. And one of the most telling things about that is in Black is King, because there's a lot of that in there, and a lot of parallels, that I feel like I identify with. But something in the segment where Jay-Z's talking after um Move Forever, where he's like, talking about like good and evil, and saying that, the light and the dark often appear together. And I always wonder what that meant, because, I pay attention to things like that. And I'm like, what do you mean, Mr. Carter? I'd like to know. And and then I feel like each time I've watched it, I've always noticed something different. And I've watched that like film so many times because, one, just like the beauty of the artistry, and like the budget, and all the scenes, all the costumes, the hair, the choreography. It's a film for all of the songs, and just like visually, it's a beautiful project. But I'm like, I know that there's something more going on here, because that B lady, she's very smart. And I know people like to try to be like, oh, at one point that was a thing back in the day, like, oh, she's not educated or whatever, and because she's country, or and she talks whatever, who cares about that? you know she found her zone of genius. No, reference to the big leap. She found her zone of genius, and she uses that, and that's how she communicates to a degree. And I feel like she uses her art and her voice and her choreography as a means of delivering her message. And sometimes, like, you catch it or you don't. And even people who might like be in tune with certain things, there's probably even certain things that we don't even know if it's like an official cosign, but the art is dope. And you can watch it and be like, oh my gosh, the choreography to this is amazing, but you don't know, like, this particular move was derived from this tribe in this particular area of Africa. And and the colors symbolize this because of, and because it's a tradition along the lines of this region. Like, it's little things like that. And I care to know shit like that. I care to know, like, okay, what's the research and the history and the symbolism there. And I appreciate artists like that. And that's why I've been a fan for a long time when it comes to Beyonce. And it inspires a lot of my art, because I think it's dope to be that intentional. Because, like, yeah, she could do the thing of like, okay, I'm fabulous, I'm beautiful, I eat this choreography, and the vocals slay. But it's like, okay, how can I show up and do that in these pop spaces, but do it with more intention? And I've always appreciated Beyonce as an artist in that way. And I feel like Lemonade was one of those projects where that kind of like intentional symbolism was displayed. I mean, it's probably in those other projects too, the earlier albums, but I feel like Lemonade, it was like on full display. And even with me discovering certain things, years later watching it, like, oh, I didn't even realize that the first time I watched this. Oh my god. Well, I relate. But anyway. But yeah, shout out to Lemonade. All right, next. Nevermind by Nirvana. you know, what a way to come out the gate swinging with a classic record. Oh, wait, this is their second album? Oh shit, I thought it was their first. Whoops. What's their first album? Oh man, sorry for not knowing. This wasn't their first album? I mean, okay, Bleach, wasn't that like a demo? Or was that an official album? Okay, I guess. I guess it was a full album. I didn't realize that that was their debut. I always thought it was like a demo. But okay, anyway. Nevermind is their second album. Sorry for not knowing that. I should have known that. But we learn new things every day and we can't always get it right. Um okay, so this album is one of my favorites. And you know, we got Smells Like Teen Spirit, In Bloom, Come As You Are, Breed, Lithium, Poly, Terrestrial, Pissings, Drain You, Lounge Act, Stay Away, On a Plane, Something in the Way. Now I'm not gonna lie, I'm more familiar with a lot of the songs that's on the first half of the album, but the second half of the album I'm pretty sure I listened to, but I just hadn't, like, those songs didn't stick with me. But I know, like, In Bloom, Come As You Are, and Lithium are personal favorites for me, as well as Smells Like Teen Spirit. Like, I mean, it's a classic song. Like, how can you not like that song? And it's a phenomenal album. It stands the test of time. These songs could come out today and be a success. It's a timeless classic rock album. And anybody, like, I don't care who you are, like, you could be the most hip hoppity person ever, real hard and gangster, you don't listen to them white boys type of guy, but everybody fucks with a Nirvana. Like, classic record. And yeah, it's an amazing album. And you know what? I'm not gonna lie. I feel like this was one of those albums where I, like, questioned about the cover art too, because it always low key kind of bothered me that there was, like, this kid, like this naked child on here, searching for $1. I'm like, and underwater at that. I'm like, okay, like, I don't know. Maybe is there like a backstory to that, and I don't know what that is. Maybe is there more discoveries, more Easter eggs with these albums that I'm not aware of. But that's the one thing about this album that always kind of, like, stuck out to me. Like, I didn't like the cover. It just always bothered me just a bit. But and I feel like nobody talks about that. Nobody says that. And but the album is amazing, and I feel like that's the synopsis of life. Like, like, all the music is dope and we're singing along, but nobody's really actually, like, where's this kid right now? How does this kid feel about this picture? You know what I mean? Like, how does this kid feel that his naked body is on the cover? I mean, he might feel like it's like, oh my god, it's a Nirvana, it's amazing. But then at the same time, like, isn't that, like, so, like, invasive in a way? I don't know. No, don't come for me though. Like, don't come for me. You know, Dave, don't come for me. Shout out to the Foo Fighters. Um, you know, but I'm just curious. That's just my perspective, and I feel like I'm probably not the only one that feels that way. You know, but I mean, as an album, it's a classic album, and they're a classic group. Rest in peace, Kurt Cobain. Just everything around his life was very unfortunate, and I always wonder, like, what was that, what was he going through? You know what I mean? Like, and I know people, like, talk about it like he had a hard time dealing with fame and stuff like that. But I feel like he, even with that, like, he had so much love and respect. Like, even if it was, like, the fans, and in his own personal life, like, he had a daughter, and I think he was with Courtney Love at the time. And I just always wondered, like, around that whole scenario around his life, like, what what, because I mean, I was a kid when this happened, so I wasn't like aware of like, what was being said in the media and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure I was like seeing like clips of it online or like documentaries, but like even still, like I feel like there's always like this like air of like, I don't know, I just feel like it don't make sense to me. Am I tripping for that, or like do other people feel that way too? um yeah, so I don't know. That's that I've always like, question mark around his passing. um but yeah, I don't know, it's a lot to process and think about. But yeah, shout out to Nirvana, amazing album, and all the members of Nirvana. All right, next album, Amy Winehouse, my girl. Man, you know um Amy, you know ooh, for a long time, Back to Black wasn't my favorite album, but I appreciate it more now than, I mean, I love the album. Like, let's be clear. Like, there's bops on that album, and I do love songs on that album. But I always preferred Frank over Back to Black, me personally. And the thing was, like, I think because I liked more songs on Frank, or the songs that I liked that were on Frank, I just liked them more than Back to Black. But then as I'm older and have a better understanding of like album structures and just the story behind it and the sonics of Back to Black, like as an album, it's more cohesive as a project compared to Frank. And it, like, sonically it fits the vibe that she was going for, like the old school kind of a sound but with a modern twist. And and just like the context of the lyrics on that album. And I would say like Frank was a little all over the place, just a bit, but I still think there was bops on Frank. But I mean, I still enjoy Frank as an album, but I think the structure of Back to Black as a project was probably composed better than Frank. But Frank was always my album. Um, okay, so Back to Black, we got Rehab. I'm no good. Me and Mr. Jones, Just Friends, Back to Black, Love is a Losing Game, Tears Dry on Their Own, Wake Up Alone, Some Unholy War, He Can Only Hold Her, Addicted. This is a no skip album. Now, at the time, I was skipping some records. I'm not gonna lie, I was skipping some records. But this is a no skip album. Start to finish, this is amazing. Amazing body of work. Shout out to Mark Ronson, who is an amazing musician, composer, producer, and just the thing that he had with Amy was amazing, and I feel like he has a lot of those collaborations where, like, it's just magic with him and the artist, like him and Bruno Mars. I feel like they just have, it's just undeniable when they get together. But I feel like him and Amy really, like, you know and I think, I forget what I was watching. It was some type of like documentary about her life, and she was explaining like she immediately met him and was like, look, whatever you're doing, this is what I want my album to sound like. Because I think the first song that they wrote was Back to Black, and he was playing, and then she kind of like wrote it, and it just like happened instantly. And she was like, I want to work with him, and this is what I want my album to sound like. And then we get this masterpiece of work. And then, and she like famously wins 5 Grammys in a night for this album. And I remember watching that live and, just being so excited for her, because I feel like at the time I was the only one that I knew that really fucked with Amy Winehouse, because I liked her before she blew up. Like, I think Back to Black had just came out, and at that time I like did it like a deep dive into her work, and and then it became the success that it was, and then the Grammys happened. But I think right when Back to Black came out, or like a little bit, yeah, I think it was around that time. I remember like seeing an ad for the album, and I was like, this seems interesting. And then like I just did like a deep dive into her projects and really listened to like Frank and watched her performances, and I was such a fan of Amy Winehouse. And I felt like she was like, you know how you find those artists, you discover artists that you love and nobody knows them, and then all of a sudden they blow up. Amy was that for me. And and just like her voice and her approach to jazz was just like just amazing, amazing. And just like how raw and honest she was. And and she was just very like, this is who I am and this is what it is, and you just felt that attitude through the music. And I love that she was seen and like loved for it, and not really seen as like, I mean, people really criticized like the drugs and the drinking and stuff like that, but I feel like her attitude and just like her personality and just how it shined through the music, like, you know people loved it, and I love that for her. And and just like, her like passing and everything was just like crazy. But yeah, it's an amazing album. And okay, let's get into like some of the specific songs. So Rehab, Rehab was always kind of like eerie for me because I like this song sonically, but I never really listened to it because I always felt like it was a little irresponsible. Because I'm like, I don't know, Amy, like maybe you might need a little rehab, just maybe, and I get it. I get it. I would get it if it were a situation where she really didn't need rehab, but she had people around her trying to intentionally influence her to drink and smoke and take drugs and then push her into rehab so they can manipulate and control her life and her career. Even though I do feel like a little bit of manipulation and control was going on in her life and her career. Maybe not necessarily the alcohol and drugs per se, but definitely like when there was opportunities to really try to get her help being that wasn't really considered. It was just like, okay, we got this performance, we got to make this money, and and that's why we had some of those performances with her like not being in the best shape. And and it takes a circle and it takes a village of people that really have your best interest at heart and that are going to tell you the things that you don't want to hear, but the things that you need to hear. And not because they're trying to manipulate and control, but because they genuinely care about you and they genuinely care about your health and your well-being and you knowing the truth to protect you. And I just feel like she didn't have that. And because of that, or maybe not enough of it. Maybe she did have it and it wasn't around her enough. But but that's always how kind of how I felt about that song. Like even when it was out, I was never crazy about that song because I'm like, okay, like yeah, it's a hit, but it's like I don't know, honey. Like it's like yeah, I mean you need something. Maybe if not rehab, something, and I think people were just so busy singing along to the song and not really actually caring about her, but that's beside the point. I mean, it's not beside the point. It's actually an important point, actually, and that goes for a lot of these artists that use their music and they talk about like popping perks and taking Molly and this and that, and it's cool to sing along to, but like when it's like somebody's detriment, who's gonna speak up and actually say the right thing, and not because you're using this person as a cash cow, but because you actually care about their well-being and you care about this person as a human, and not because it's the Amy Winehouse, but Amy, the girl from the UK, that happens to be a really good singer, but is a daughter, is a friend, is, she was a godmom, Who's caring about her in that way? But whatever. It's beside the point. I'm no good. I used to sing that at open mics until it became a shady thing, but that's beside the point. Shout out to that song though. Um, you know, but when Amy does it, it's amazing. But then when it's my life, then it's like, oh, burn her at the stake. Well, if you're gonna burn me, let's burn everything down because nobody's safe. Anyway, me and Mr. Jones. I recently found out that that song is about Mr. Nasir Jones, who also happens to be on this list. Nas, the rapper. Because fun fact, her and Nas have the same birthday, which I think is adorable. And Nas has featured to some degree on all her projects, which is something that I said like in a comment section somewhere on TikTok. But on Frank, she samples Made You Look on In My Bed, which is a Nas song produced by Salim Remy, who also did production on the first album. And I think he might have did a little production on Back to Black too, if I'm not mistaken. Um Back to Black, a song about Nasir Jones. And then the Hidden Treasures album, the album that came out after, or Hidden Lioness, Hidden Treasure, yeah. That has is it Like Smoke on there? Yeah, Like Smoke is on that album. And then she's also on his album on the record Cherry Wine. So like to see them collab a lot, or at least have that element of Nas kind of like being in through all her albums, is like really dope. Okay, Just Friends. I always loved that song. That was a song that I used to cover a lot back when I was in like middle school and high school. And yeah, that, and then also He Can Only Hold Her. That was another favorite for me. Um Child, how long have I been on here? Okay, hour and a half. Okay, cool. And what number are we on? I thought I was skipping a few. Okay, we're in the top tens now. All right, so not too bad. But it's going to be a little slower because I'm more familiar with these albums. Oh goodness. Okay, hopefully this don't take too long. Um, what's her name? Okay, what Back to Black. That's the song that had to grow on me, but it's still a great song nonetheless. Love is a Losing Game, beautiful record. Especially like the like more like stripped down version of her singing it in the studio. Tears Dry on Their Own. I like this version and the demo version of this record, which is a little bit slower. It doesn't have the uh Ain't No Mountain sample on there, which I thought was like a really dope sample to have on here. Wake Up Alone. I love the demo version. I think I might like the demo version a little bit more than the original, but Wake Up Alone. I've been wanting to do a cover of that. I think I might. Okay, I might revisit that idea. But there was another song that I said I was thinking about doing a cover for. Dreams. That's what it was. Okay, hold on. Let me just jot these ideas. Um, I don't know. We'll see what kind of cover I'll do. If it's gonna be like a whole production or just like I'll just do a cover of like a quick segment of the song. All right, hold on. And I wake up alone. Wake up alone, yeah. As far as my heart, I I'd rather be restless. The second it stops, the sleep catches up and I'm breathless. He comes to me. I think that's the verse. I haven't thought about those lyrics in a while. But anyway, just a little something that I do. I don't just be talking about this music stuff. I kind of do it. Summer Holy War. This is a really short song, but I do really like this song. He Can Only hold her. For a long time, I've always had it in my mind, like if anybody would ask me, like, what's a song that you wish was your song? This was always that song for me. Like I always wished like, damn, why couldn't I have written this song? Even like even though I was like in middle school when this came out, and I did like a little cover of it and posted it like on YouTube years ago. Please don't find it. I don't think it might be on Facebook. I mean, it's probably already out there. There's probably so much of my life that's out in the world that I don't know. But whatever. Um, but he can only hold her. Oh my gosh, I love that song so much. Da 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 da. You know, such a bop. Addicted. I'm not sure if I know that one, but yeah, amazing album, start to finish. And just like her tone, and just her vocal choices. Like, and she wasn't an artist that did like a lot of runs or anything, but when she did, because she wouldn't do it a lot, it would like it would just make it that much more special. But I think the thing that makes Amy Winehouse so amazing is her tone, and just like her voice. And and I remember back before I was as outspoken as I am now, when I think back to the Grammys, and back when it was like a big deal growing up, like, me and my brother, we would watch the Grammys all the time, like award shows and stuff like that. And it was like award shows, and I think American Idol when that was out, and and really like the earlier seasons, like when those shows first came out, and like The Voice. I remember we would like watch those shows. And but I remember we were watching the Grammys, and my brother's friend Pat, rest in peace, he was over, and I think maybe some other folks might have been there too. But I remember we were all watching the Grammys because at the time they were in a group together, and they were performing, and getting stuff together. And I was always around them when they were rehearsing and practicing, and just hanging around, like just studying what they were doing. And Amy was my girl at the time, and so when she was nominated for all the Grammys, and then she just like kept winning, in my mind I was like, because I think at the time I was a little bit more reserved. Like I wasn't as like, I mean, I'm like almost 10 years younger than my brother, right? So he was like a teenager at this time. I was like in middle school. Like I was a preteen at this point. And we were watching the Grammys, and I remember Pat, he was like, I don't get the hype with her. Like, I don't get what everybody's so crazy about Amy Winehouse. And in my mind I was like, no, no, you didn't just come from my girl. Like, and like me now, I'd have schooled him. I'd have been like, hold on, you need to hear this record, you need to listen to this album. But I was kind of like in my like, I was a little bit more reserved at that time, but then also I was like in my gatekeeping kind of like phase, even though she was becoming more popular. It was a thing where I was like, this is my artist. Like, this is who I listen to. I know people are asleep, but that's okay. This is my girl. I'm happy that she got that Grammy because she deserves. And yeah, I just remember that night, and just like, constantly like watching like all things musical, like music shows and award shows and stuff like that, and really like being into that because we all were creatives, like. And Pat is one of the best vocalists that I know. And just like his skill and talent, and was amazing. And then and I was, like I said, like just always hanging out with my brother and his group, and watching them rehearse and going to rehearsals with them, and always cheering them on and hearing like the songs that they were working on and stuff like that. So like everybody was always into the arts and into music. And so yeah, and I always remember that moment. And me now would have like because I have those moments where I just like get a little shy and like in myself, and I was like, I know he didn't just come from my girl, but I'm not gonna say anything because I'm like the baby. So like, what am I gonna say? But me now, I'd have been like, hold on, you're not gonna do Amy like this. Let me school you, honey. You need to listen to Back to Black. You need to listen to Frank. Oh, and you need to listen to Help Yourself, even though that's not on an album. And Round Midnight. I think that might be on a deluxe version of Frank, but I don't think it's on the original. But Round Midnight jazz record, and she did her own rendition, and it's amazing. Because that was really my girl for real. But yeah. So shout out to Amy Winehouse. I could go on and on, but anyway. All right, next record because this is all right. We're almost in the top five, y'all. All right, Kendrick. Are we live, friend? I don't know. We might be. Hey, live. Okay. See, not this scrolling all the way back up. All right, Kendrick. Let's get into it. Good Kid, Mad City. I will say, Drake crushing the van. Day free. Okay. All right. That was clever. Anyway. All right. Good Kid, Mad City. I don't think this is his best album, but I see why it's up here because I feel like it's a popularity thing, right? Um, but you know what? That whole thing about like the that moment, people be playing both sides. Like, okay, people be do a little something over here and then do a little something over here, and it's like, where do you stand? Y'all be moving like leaves on a tree, But if you know, you know. Anyway, okay, Good Kid, Mad City. Okay, so I feel like the great thing about this album, just off top, is that there were so many bops on here, right? There were so many radio bops, but there was like a concept with this album. Like it wasn't just like, okay, we're just doing hits for radio. Like it just so happens that there were hits for radio, but it was done in a way where like there were skits and there was a story being told throughout the record and there was intention behind it. But and I feel like now because he got the acclaim and the fame that he did with this album and plus his features on other records, that from the point of Good Kid, Mad City, he was able to put out albums like To Pimp a Butterfly and what else? Well, okay, I know there's Damn, but I feel like Damn kind of like reflects this in a way where there's a lot of like radio hits on that album. And but he has the freedom to be able to put an album like To Pimp a Butterfly and Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, where there's a lot of like it's very complex and it's there's a lot to digest with those albums versus like, oh, you can just bop along to Good Kid, Mad City, and and you don't even really, if you're not listening to the album and you're just listening for the bops, you can bop along without it needing to be like super deep. But if you want it to be super deep, it can be, whereas the other albums that people try to say like, oh, To Pimp a Butterfly is whack, either it's not whack, it's an amazing album. The instrumentation on that record is dope, and just like the intention with his lyricism on that record is amazing, but it's not one of those albums that you just kind of like bop along to, where I feel like, and he kind of broke it up in a way that was really dope, like putting out Good Kid, Mad City, and then To Pimp a Butterfly, and then you have the Damn album, and the Damn album kind of reflects like the structure of Good Kid, Mad City in a way where there is those radio hits on an album, but it's also another album done with intention, and there's like a concept with those albums. And but anyway, that's beside the point. I'm talking about his whole discography because J. Cole, he tried it with the with the 7 minute drill. I mean, granted, like, look, I'm not gonna blame him for it though. He was just trying to come up with any old thing just to put out the song. So I know he really ain't even really care for what he was talking about, but he was just trying to give y'all something because the streets was on his neck. But it's funny. Anyway, all right. So Good Kid, Mad City, right? We got Backseat Freestyle, dope. Money Trees, dope. Swimming Pools, good. I mean, Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe, a vibe. Poetic Justice. And I'm just naming off like the big records, right? Wow, he really had an album of like just bangers. bops and bangers, and and when I think of this album, I really just think back to a time like just it's very nostalgic for me, back when my life was easier. Even though there was probably more shenanigans going on at that time, I just wasn't aware. But I mean, I had a good time, so whatever. So I will say, I will be grateful for the segment of my life where ignorance was blissful. Um, but whatever. Anyway, it is nostalgic for me. It takes me back to being in high school. It takes me back to my first job working at AMC, and the friends that I made there, and like being in high school, and like dating for the first time, like officially, kind of. Well, yeah, it was around that era. It was like 2013 ish. Yeah, when did this come? Like 2012. Yeah, so this came out like late 2012. And of course, like the songs were coming out throughout like the 2013s. So yeah, like I was in high school at this point, just living my regular teenage life, working a job at the movie theaters. And yeah, it was a time. It was a moment. It was a moment. And so like I just think back to that time, and when these songs were on the radio, and what was just going on in my life then. So for me, it's like a nostalgic thing with this project. Um but yeah, okay, that's all I'll get into, because I don't want this live to be too long. Um okay, but yeah, shout out to Kendrick. Even though, like I said, I don't think this is his best album. I feel like, personally, I feel like his best album, well, my favorite album is To Pimp a Butterfly. I really wouldn't be sure if it's his best album. I'd have to like really go through all the projects and hear like lyrically what's happening there. But I think To Pimp a Butterfly is a beautiful album. And even like Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, there's a lot happening on that album. A lot. Even down to the paint on the cover. It's like, wow, this looks quite familiar. But yeah, just like a lot of things. Um but but lyrically there's a lot. Like even with what's that song? N95. Um Take off the foo-foo. Take off the Wi-Fi. I'm trying to take off the Wi-Fi. Kendrick, I'm trying. But I'm trying to get a job. They won't hire me out here. So that's why I'm out here trying to do these live streams, trying to get monetized. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow. I gotta sound like the YouTubers out here. I mean, if you wanna donate to your girl, you know what I'm saying? Then I could turn off the Wi-Fi. You know, you know. But I get it, he not our savior. He's not the savior. Even though he was wearing the Jesus crown with the thorns. But you look like a savior. You look like a savior, Mr. Lamar. So I mean, ain't you rapping freeing the slaves? I'm just saying. Anyway, I joke, but I'm not. All right, next album, Stevie Wonder, Songs in the Key of Life. Amazing, phenomenal, classic, skipless album. Well, I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. It is one of my favorite like Stevie Wonder projects, but I don't think I've heard the album all the way through and really paid attention to what song was what song. But what's the name? Are we live, friend? I have to get through this life somehow. I, I have to have fun somehow, y'all. Even though it's like, I don't know, it's like chaotic out here. But I mean, I look good though, right? Little lady attractive. Yes, yes, I am. Thank you. Thank you. Can't play with me no more. Fasting. Yeah. I'm so unserious. It's either this or a rant. Like, it's either this or venting in a safe house. Like, Okay, all right, sorry. I'm not a fan of nothing. I don't be listening to these lyrics or paying attention to these amazing artists that I admire and respect. I just be listening to the songs. Anyway, I know I'm a menace, and not in the way that people be trying to make me out to be, but whatever. Anyway, okay, so songs in the key of life. Songs in the key of life. All right, what's on here? Love's in need of love. Okay, talk about it. Talk about it. Have a talk with God. I'll be talking to God a lot. And I look, I'm like, God, do you hear me? Are you live, friend? you know. All right, anyway. Sir Duke, amazing. As one of my favorite songs. This was like my go-to favorite song, like by Stevie Wonder. But I feel like there's so many. Cause does he make bad music? No. Knocks me off my feet. I wish. Um, what else is on here? Isn't she lovely? Oh, he got a song named Saturn too. Okay. Um, okay. Some of these other records I'm not familiar with, but yeah, man, wow, like, whew, a loaded album. Amazing, amazing body of work. Um, wow. And I will say, like, as is one of the most beautifully written songs. I think I've said that before. On my other channel on YouTube, House of Divinity, where I was kind of like doing what I'm doing in this particular video, where it was more so me just kind of like commentating my perspective about like albums. I was doing album reviews and talking about like some pop culture topics and stuff like that, performances, award shows, or whatever. Because I'm like, I be having opinions, and I just be like talking out loud, and apparently, people think it's good enough to be content. So I might as well make the content myself, right? But particularly on an album review of Ego Death by The Internet, I made a reference to a lyric that's in I'm Just Saying, I Tried. I think that song. Where the lyrics are like, it's very similar to how the lyrics are in As, but just reversed. How they sing, "I'll love you until the rainbows and the stars aren't in the sky," which, I mean, for how I know physics might be going, it's probably going to be a long time. I mean, even when stars combust, it takes light years for it to show up where we are in this particular spot in the universe. So even if it happened already, like, you know, light years ago, whenever the light hits us is when we see it. So, like, space and time is like a weird thing in this cosmetic existence. Not cosmetic. Um cosmic cosmic existence. That's the word. Cosmetic is like, you know, but anyway, but also cosmic is because we're all made of stardust here, but that's a whole nother level. Anyway, another star. It's on the album. But y'all can't see what I'm looking at, or at least you shouldn't be able to see unless you're watching through the Truman Show, but whatever. Yeah, I wish. Knocks me off my feet. Dope record. Um, isn't she lovely? I remember that used to be like my favorite song when I was a kid. Like, I think back to when my mom was living in this house, and I remember like when she would like clean the house and would put on like R&B radio, and I remember really liking this song, and I was like, oh, can you play it again? Like, I've had several moments like that where and I was thinking about it with not a record that's on this list, but there was a post that I saw on Threads that was like, Will Smith doesn't get the credit that he deserves as an hip hop artist because he had hits and bops, and he did, and and I feel like even out of his discography, Code Red is a underrated album, and it technically like flopped, but there were so many good songs on that album that I listen to today. Um, but I'm not a fan or nothing. Giving credit where credit is due. With creativity and artistry. But I say that to say there was a moment. I don't even think we were watching Men in Black, but I think my brother was like watching TV or playing the game, and my mom was sitting down somewhere, and I was just like down there, like on the floor, just like we're just chilling as a family, doing regular family stuff, and I think we were just like listening to the CDs in the sound system, and I remember we had, I think it was like the Big Willie album, and I think Men in Black was on that album, and I remember really liking that song, and I was like, Devin, or like I was like, oh, can you play it again? And then my mom asked my brother to play back, and she was like, Devin, play the song again. And then I forget how many times I asked for it. It was a few times, because as kids, how you like to rewatch shit a million times, like movies and songs and stuff like that. It was like one of those moments, and I remember really liking that song, and just like I was like, oh, can you play it again? Can you play it again? But don't nobody want to you know highlight those memories, but whatever. But yeah, you know, that was a dope time. That was a dope time. And also I say that to say I remember having that moment again with Isn't She Lovely with my mom, and we were just like, I think she was cooking and cleaning, and I was helping her clean the house, and yeah, and I remember we were like clearing off the table. Like at the time, we had this glass table. Well, if my life were anything like the Truman Show, you probably already know. But there was like this table with like a mirror on top, and it was like glass. And so we were like, just cleaning up the house or whatever, sweeping and all that stuff, and we were listening. Uh, I remember like Shaka Khan and Stevie Wonder and Luther Vandross was playing, and and I remember like Isn't She Lovely? I really liked that song. And yeah, I think back to that memory. Um yeah, good old times, like regular family stuff. Because there's a lot of moments like that where, things are nostalgic and beautiful. And that song, even though like I don't care for that song, well, okay, it's not that I don't like the song, but because I remember it like being a favorite thing when I was younger. I just, the songs have shifted. Like my palette has like matured in a way where I'm like, okay, now a song that I would think would be my favorite now would be a song like As. Um but anyway, yeah, amazing album, dope memories, and yeah. Anyway, okay, next. All right, where are we at? Oh, child, almost 2 hours. Okay, Frank, Mr. Ocean, Mr. Atlantic, or Pacific. Sir, how you made it up here? I don't know. He probably don't even know how he made it up here. But shout out my nigga Frank Ocean. He made it to the top 5. He up here, but Patti LaBelle ain't up here. Shout out my nigga Frank Ocean. It's like, nah, I'm a Frank Ocean fan. I hope y'all know this. Like, I enjoy him as an artist. Okay, I'm just highlighting, you know, and lighthearted, no shade. There's people who are like actually very upset about this list. I just like to crack jokes from time to time. But all right, and let's be clear. Blonde is an amazing album. I don't know if it's 5 out of 100 best albums in the world, but it's here, so we gonna talk about it. All right, let's get into it. Blonde or blind? Blind, blind, blind. I don't know. I don't know. But if that happened to be an Easter egg, because I was like, why is it called blonde and his hair is green? That's not blonde. But what do I know? um, okay, I'm not gonna lie. Blonde was an album that had to grow on me because I wasn't crazy about it the first listen. I was like, I don't know what these kids is talking about. Like, I don't know. Like, the songs aren't giving to me, But now I feel like each time I've listened to it through the years, I can appreciate the songs more and more sonically. Just speaking specifically about Sonics, right? Um, like I know immediately I like the Nikes and Pink and White and Nights. I know, like, and those are like the fan favorites. Like everybody likes those songs. Like I feel like those are songs like sonically is undeniably like vibes, right? And then I know there were songs like in between that I liked, but not anything that immediately jumped out to me. And over time I really liked what songs? Skyline 2. Um oh, I hope I say this right. Seinfried. If I say it wrong, my bad. Song 15. Um, Godspeed. I know that kind of went viral on TikTok. There's another song on here that I like too. Is it? I don't know if it's solo. Like I'm like, okay, I don't know what's happening with this melody. I'm trying though, but solo. Um, Self control. I think Skyline 2. I really do like Skyline 2 a lot. And yeah. Okay, I know there's other songs on here. I got to listen to the album to really like remind myself what's what. But man, the switch and Nights and just like the production of this album is really dope. How he plays with his vocals on Nikes, like the voice effect that he does. And you know, it's just and then Pink and White, such a beautiful record, and then you just casually have Beyonce vocals in the background. Like, how dare you? How do you? Who put Baby in the back? Like, but her vocals are there, and I'm like, bitch, is this Beyonce? Beyonce do whopping on a Frank Ocean album? How? How did he do it? How much did he pay? Like little things like that. But beautiful vocals, amazing, and the song is just so like melodic and very pretty. It's just one of those songs where it's like undeniably beautiful. Like the melody is just and then there it goes. Sorry, I'm trying to get the words together because I still don't know the words to the song. But no control. The sky is pink and white. Ground is black and yellow. It's the same way you showed me love, yeah. But anyway, it's not my song or nothing. But I did do a cover of Sweet Life off of Channel Orange. So check that out when it comes out. But the live stream is on here. Of the process of me arranging my vocals, which was really fun. I really enjoyed that. And mainly because I went into it with an idea in mind of the harmonies that I wanted to do. And then I just kind of like built upon that. But okay, but you know what I really fuck with when it comes to Blonde? I appreciate Blonde as the chess move more. Well, not more than the song. I think when it came out, I appreciated it more about the play than the album, it was brilliant. For those who don't know, I feel like people should know this at this point. But he was in his deal with Def Jam at the time. And I think he signed like a 2 album deal, which isn't too bad. I know some people be signed like for 7 albums, which would be crazy. But he did a 2 album deal. And I think there was like issues with his contract and things that he wanted to change or whatever the case may be, or him not really getting all the ownership that he wanted to get. So he had one more album to make because he had already did Channel Orange. He had one more album to make to fulfill the contract, right? And he did the exclusive deal with Apple Music. And he did the exclusive deal with Apple Music. I'm sorry, I'm just thinking about it is like it was brilliant. Hi Angie. girl, if you want to jump back here, because like, mm-mm. Anyway, so he had an exclusive deal with Apple Music, right? And and so he fulfilled his contract and put out the Endless album, right? And Endless was like a ambiance type of record, a lot of like sparse sounds, and there's like this long visual of him building stairs. And you know, some people said like, you know, it's a vibe on there. And and then a day later, after dropping Endless, because that was the album that fulfilled his contract with um Def Jam, he puts out Blonde on his own record label. I think Boys Don't Cry. Uh, so it's an independent project, and so you know, utilizing all the marketing and the hype that you know, the label probably did in preparation for this album. Like they probably paid marketing and, you know, promotional things like, oh, we got this Frank album coming out. Frank's coming out with this album, and then you know, he drops Blonde on his own label, and Def Jam did not get paid off of that. And then for that reason, like artists can't do exclusive deals. I think with Universal, I think because Universal is like the parent company to Def Jam. And so clever. My thing is like, how the fuck did he do that? Because you know, I'm like, isn't there A&Rs that have to listen to the album? And I get it, like, okay, maybe you give them like a bullshit album or whatever the case may be, right? But you know, I'm like, don't they have to have like A&Rs to listen and approve the album? And they say like, okay, you know, what's the visuals looking like? Like, I mean, I don't know. I wish somebody would interview Frank Ocean and really like ask the detailed questions. Like, okay, how did you plan this out? What was the process? Who worked on both albums? You know what I mean? How did you keep this a secret with like your management folks? Like, and how did you build the team for your own label? And how did it not get out to the people at Universal? Like, I want to know those things. You know, like I know people talk about that story, but I want to know the nuances and the details of how like he really like played that out. Like it's already done. He already has his own label. You know, the project's out. It's been out for years now. Like, okay, it's already done. Like, Frank, let us know, how did you make the moves? How'd you make the moves? I want to know. I want to know, like, how did you plan it out? Did you plan it out by yourself? Did somebody help you come up with the idea? How did the idea not slip through people working at Universal versus the people that were going to help you out with your own label? You know, did you have your own team? You know, and then you know, like how did you plan out like the whole marketing thing? Because like he came out with booklets and all of that stuff, right? Like I want to know the logistics of how he rolled that out. I think that alone is what earned him on the fifth spot of this list, is the chess move, because that shit was clever. And you know, and I give him that for sure. Especially like, you know, getting out your contract and like, look, you know, and I think he might have like paid them off and to fulfill whatever he needed to recoup from his advance. So whatever he made off of Blonde, it was his. But it was such a clever, it was a clever maneuver, and I just want to know how he did it. You know, like I want to know the specifics. Like, did it take you months to plan? Did it take you years? You know, what studios were you using when you were recording the album? Did the label pay for the studios? Was this a home studio? You know what I mean? How did you get it copywritten without people finding out? You know what I'm saying? How'd you get the label trademarked and nobody peeped that? You know what I'm saying? It's like because those are legal, those are, you know, those are public records. And, you know, if one knows to look for it, then it could be found. I'm just like, how? How do you outsmart these labels like this? You know what I mean? Like, I want to know. I want to know those details. And I feel like, you know, people do video breakdowns about that, and you know, but I want to know like the nitty gritties of like each step and each like move before he did the checkmate. You know what I mean? Like the checkmate is real cool, but I'm like, okay, what was the opening and what was the middle game? You know, I want to know all of that. That's what I want to know. Especially like, okay, and what was the plan before you even made the opening move? You know what I mean? Like before you even came across the Queen's Gambit, how'd you game plan? Where was the brainstorming happening? That's what I want to know. Anyway, you know, because that's just the type of girl I am. I like to know the nitty gritties. That's why people got to keep me in the dark, because they know I'm clever. Because once I know a thing, I know a thing. But when people could keep you ignorant and say like, oh, you're slow and you're so behind. Nah, 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 nah. It's because people intentionally limit information. It's like saying slaves are dumb because they can't read or write. But it's like, but you're keeping a limitation preventing them from reading and writing. So, but if they had the knowledge to read and write, they'll probably be more clever and make smarter moves than you, with the same access and the same resources and the same, information and, all of those things. But I digress. Anyway, Prince and the Revolution, Purple Rain. Let's get into it. Is I think okay, this is Prince's second record on this list. So Purple Rain is a classic album for sure. Purple rain, purple rain. Okay. Purple rain. Okay, let me chill. Let me chill. Okay, what's on this album? I gotta remind myself. Okay, we got Let's Go Crazy, Take Me With You, Beautiful Ones, um, Computer Blue, Darling Nikki, When Doves Cry, I Would Die For You, Baby I'm a Star, Heard, and of course Purple Rain. These songs are like 20 minutes long. Back in the day when people actually took the time to give you an intro before you get to the verse, and the intro be like at least 40 seconds. Musicality. Back in the day when we had those things. Okay, Let's Go Crazy, Upbeat Bop. Take Me With You. I don't know if I remember how that sounds. Beautiful Ones. I really love the Beautiful Ones. And shout out to Mariah Carey for having that on the Butterfly album, which should have been on this list. But, you know. First of all, okay, just quick deviation from Prince. Mariah, how did you get that song on your album? Because Prince don't let people cover his music. There's very few people that are allowed to cover his music and let alone put it on an album. So for her to be able to get a cover, like Beyonce ain't even get this cover. And she did a cover of it for the I Am Yours tour. I think it was like the really intimate show that she put together in Vegas after or around the era of like I'm Sasha Fierce, because I don't have a degree in Beyonceology or nothing. And she did a cover of Beautiful Ones into or was it That's Why You're Beautiful into Beautiful Ones, which was a really dope mashup, like, to put those songs together how she did, kind of like what she did with Crazy in Love and Crazy by Gnarls Barkley during the Beyonce experience, because I'm not a Beyonceologist or nothing, but but he didn't approve her having that song on her album because she put an album together of that live performance, and it just cuts off right before it gets into the Beautiful Ones. And I always wondered that, and I'm like, they performed together after this point, and like, he had already met Beyonce, he knows who she is. I'm like, why didn't he give her the okay to put it on her album? Like, and plus it was a live performance, you know what I mean? It wasn't like it was like her studio album, but somehow, some way, you know, maybe, but then again, Mariah Carey's version of Beautiful Ones was years before then, right? This was during the 90s. But I feel like this was after the time when he was already protesting Warner Brothers and the whole, like, doing the whole, like, slave initiative because they weren't letting him own his rights. So, I wonder, like, maybe did he not have the say in her covering it? I'm not sure, but I know he don't let people cover his music. So I always wondered. Always wondered about that. So I don't know if somebody in Mariah Carey's camp could get her to answer these questions, because I'm curious. I know people like to talk about the shenanigans of things, but I'm like, I got questions about the music. Okay, I got questions about how did you get this approved? The behind the scenes business stuff that if you're a music fan, like you're really into, that's me. Okay, that's what I get on here and talk about. I talk about the things that, everybody wants to talk about, the gossipy things. And I'm like, okay, but how did you get this deal handled? What was the percentages? What were the points on the album? That's what I want to know. Like we could talk about the refrigerator chess games or whatever, but I want to know the chess moves and the board and how you were signing these deals. That's what I want to know. That's the important questions to ask. But that's beside the point. All right, back to Prince. Computer Blue, it's a vibe. Darling Nikki, um, you know, she's a sexy song. When Doves Cry is about mm, 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 I would die for you. A bop too. Um, Baby I'm a Star. I really kind of don't remember how that sounds. Um, and Purple Rain. I mean, it's an amazing record. And the interesting thing about Purple Rain, I feel like it's one of those songs where like I feel like I can't pinpoint the sound. Like I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but like okay, like I don't know how to describe it. I feel like for a long time growing up, when people would talk about Purple Rain and I would hear the song, I'm like, how do y'all sing along to this? Because like I would try to pinpoint like the guitar parts, and I feel like it's one of those songs where all the sounds kind of like mesh together, and it's like the guitar and the bass, and if there's a piano section, they're all just kind of like playing in unison, and it's not like there's distinct sounds. Like I feel like everything is on like a really like vibey reverb, and I don't know how to describe it. Like I just feel like everything blends together, and I'm like, and of course, like I can think of like the guitar solo part, like okay, like I can hear certain like big moments and like vamp sections in that song, but I feel like the beginning, everything just kind of blends together. And I've always wondered, like, okay, how do you put these songs together? But now I have a better understanding of the song. But I feel like it was one of those songs where I could just never get the melody, and it just I don't know. It was weird, but like dope at the same time. So I don't know, but it's a beautiful song though, and I think something else about Purple Rain, which is really interesting, um, was a story that Alicia Keys told about on Drink Champs, where she said that the original version of "Never See Your Face Again" on the I Am album, the album with no one on it. There's a lot of bops on that album too. And Alicia Keys, she was one of the artists that was upset that she wasn't on the list. And I will say, like, based on how this list was categorized, I can see maybe like a diary of Alicia Keys being on here. Maybe songs in the key of A minor. I wasn't crazy about that album. There was a few songs on there that I liked, but I really liked Diary of Alicia Keys. Like that album was amazing. And then also that I Am album is dope too. But she met with Prince and asked him, because she did like a chord progression that was similar to Purple Rain, but he was telling her like, look, you get my blessing to do something close but not quite, just because he doesn't he doesn't completely own the rights to that album, and I think the label owned a lot of that album. And he was like, look, I'm not trying to have these people, you know, they feed, these people be eating off my work essentially. And it's like, no, I will not pay for them to be eating off my work. Absolutely not. But you get my blessing to do like a chord progression that's kind of like it, but not quite. Like, like and the thing is, I think she said she like flew all the way to London or something like that just to meet with him and just ask him in person to see if she can do it. But he's like, look, you can do something kind of like it, but no, because No, they're not getting paid off of my stuff. And I feel that. So shout out to Prince. Beatles on here again. And we gonna skip this album. So now let me see what's on here. I might know a song or two. Okay, Come Together. I know that one. I know some of these songs. Okay, Come Together. Here Comes the Sun. Okay, all right. All right. Look at me knowing something. Knowing more than I thought I knew. And I think that's probably the only songs that I know. But okay, shout out to that. Shout out to Come Together. Right now, over me. Yeah. Here Comes the Sun. That was my class song. What was that, senior year or something like that? Um, or was that like just our class song in general? Because we had like class colors in high school, and our color was yellow, and so yeah, that was just like, oh, let's do a Beatles song. I didn't know what that song was until that moment. I was like, okay, oh, look at me learning about the Beatles. All right, shout out to these white girls putting me on. But yeah, that was our class song. Shout out to the Beatles. Yeah, that's about the only song I know off this album. But I've seen this picture. I see people recreate this picture all the time. I know it's a classic album. Everybody talks about the Beatles and Abbey Road, and how great the Beatles are. I just can never get into it. No shade. Like I said, I know Paul McCartney. Shout out to the Beatles being on here twice. I didn't realize they were on here multiple times, but they are. All right. Okay, where we at? We're over 2 hours now. We're almost done. We're almost done. Almost done. Okay. Thriller. Michael Jackson. This was his only album on the list. Crazy. All right, let's get into Thriller. That I get that. I understand why Thriller's on here. That makes sense to me. But it's one of those things where it's like, okay, everybody says that Thriller is like the best album ever. Like, in all the lists, Thriller is always on there, and Thriller is always at like the top. So I get it. And I get it for the sake of like pop culture and how popular it was and how it was like the biggest selling album of all time and all those things. And it's a great album. It is a great album. Like I remember when my like I guess like my second cousin it would be like my mom's cousin, she bought me this album for my birthday. I think was it on my birthday? I think it was like around my birthday, or maybe it was just like a time where like I was like spending the night over her house, and I was with her hanging with her daughter and her daughter's friends, and we were all like hanging out and stuff like that. And I remember she got me Thriller by Michael Jackson. At the time, it was the 25th anniversary, so you can see how long ago that was. I was a kid at this point. It was the 25th anniversary, and also I think she got me Sierra's Goodies album because that had just came out at that time. It was like 2005. This sounds like 2005, and yeah, man, what a time! Because you know what, the song that was really big at this moment was "Let Me Love You" by Mario, which is my shit. I love that song. And I remember this one time we were like at her house, and it was me and my cousin, her daughter, and her friends, and we were all like, oh, let's like, I don't know, we were all just like kind of like singing and dancing and stuff like that. And shout out to them. But yeah, I forget what was going on, but and actually shout out to my second cousin because she really liked I think like Baps was like her favorite movie or one of her favorite movies, that and Love Jones. And I think that like hanging out with her put me on to Fighting Temptations, and that's why like I really liked that soundtrack. And I had like that soundtrack on my MP3 player at the time or whatever. Anyway, that's beside the point. But we were all like at her house, and we were like all singing songs and stuff like that, and like dancing, and everybody was taking turns like displaying their talents. And I remember like this one girl, one of the friends, she was singing "Let Me Love You" by Mario, right? And you know how the intro is like, mm, uh, yeah, mm, yeah, yeah, yeah. Da-da-mm. And so she was singing like the intro part, right? But she kept singing the intro. Like she looped it way longer than it was going on. It's like, okay, girl, are you gonna get into the verse or what? And I remember that moment. And it was so funny. It was like, okay, girl, like I don't think the intro is this long. But yeah, I don't know. Just good memories in my life. But yeah, anyway, like around that time was when my cousin got me the Thriller album. And so and I think I was familiar with Off the Wall because that played on the radio, but I don't know how it came up, but I'm pretty sure we was talking about Thriller or talking about Michael Jackson, and she was like saying something about Thriller, and I'm like, oh, what's that? And she's like, you don't know Thriller? And I'm like, I wasn't born in the '80s. How was I was born? you know, and so she got me the album. Um, and so yeah, so Thriller. Anyway, let's get into the sound. Like, I don't like how they list these soundtracks like this. I mean, the track list. But anyway, all right. Wanna Be Starting Something. Such a bop. All right. Baby Be Mine, another bop. The Girl Is Mine. I Don't Believe It. Shout out to Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney just getting all the shout outs. Um, Thriller, right? Halloween's theme song. Beat It, Rock Jam, Billie Jean, um, Human Nature, PYT, Pretty Young Thing, Lady in My Life. 9 songs. Solid album. And you know what's really dope about this album is that I feel like he covers the gambit when it comes to like dibbling and dabbling in different genres here. And I know when I look at this album, I see the songs that I hear on different radio stations. Like I know old school R&B will play like "Wanna Be Starting Something" and like PYT. Every now and then I might hear like "Lady in My Life" and "Human Nature." But I know "Beat It" will play on like '80s alternative rock stations. Thriller plays pretty much anywhere, like around that like Halloween time. I feel like that always plays then. Oh yeah, Billie Jean. Billie Jean plays on R&B radio, but I feel like Billie Jean is one of those records that plays on like any type of a station. It'll play on R&B, and it'll also play on like pop. It'll play on '80s oldies, alternative rock stations, especially with Beat It. And it's dope to see, and I think he did that intentionally. Like he knew he wanted to be like the king of pop, right? That was the goal, was to like be the biggest artist ever. And he did that with this album. And I think he knew he had to yeah, some of these songs are pop, and he's known for his R&B roots from Jackson 5 and especially Off the Wall. Even though Off the Wall is like a dance album because it was like back in the day when he was out here partying in the clubs in New York. But he got his R&B songs, like you got the PYT and Lady in My Life, which is like the ballad. It's the that shit slaps, okay? But then you have like some of the pop songs, like Thriller is a pop record. um Billie Jean is a pop record where it's like R&B, but it's like pop, and it's pop enough to play on any type of a station. And then Beat It is like a bona fide rock song. And I'm like, who does the solo on Beat It? Uh is it I'm trying to think if it's the guitarist from Van Halen. Eddie Van Halen, yep. Yeah, Eddie Van Halen does a guitar solo. That was intentional. That was like, we need somebody that's, has notoriety in rock. Van Halen from, Eddie Van Halen from Van Halen, um, which is a bona fide rock band. And to have him do a guitar solo with known R&B act, but trying to like really shift his sound to be pop. And he did that with this album. You know, and I think that was one of the great things about Thriller. I think the versatility in genre um was dope. And then also having Paul McCartney on here too. Like, you know, all that, those things were intentional. Even though, and I remember seeing I forget which, there's so many documentaries about Michael Jackson, but I remember seeing that when they first were rolling out Thriller, they started off with the Paul McCartney record, with the Girl Is Mine, because, you know, and then like the advertisement for it, they would play that record because they thought it was like a soft launch that people could get behind, because they thought records like Beat It was just like too brash, and, you know, it's too in your face, it's rock, it's like people won't receive it well because it's Michael Jackson, you know, the Jackson 5 guy that's singing the ABC songs. And even though like Off the Wall was a success, it was still R&B. Technically it was like R&B and dance music, and it was right at the tail end of disco. So, you know, you have like this disco phase that's kind of like phasing out, and people like disco was like hit or miss at the time. It was like either people really fucked with it or they hated it. And then all of a sudden there was like this event where they were like, oh, like let's end disco. And so they're like burning the CDs and all these things, right? And then that was kind of like everybody blackballing disco, as if that wasn't like the biggest thing. And then, but luckily with Off the Wall, it kind of like skated along the lines of disco, and but still being R&B, but it's upbeat records that you can still listen to today. And it can go along the line of disco because he has a song on there, Burn This Disco Out, right? And that was around the time when like Donna Summer was really big. And because it has like that versatility and sound, he masterfully curated Thriller in a way where it still has those R&B elements that's kind of like familiar to what's on Off the Wall, but it leaned heavily into the pop space, as well as, you know, having a record like Beat It, which is a rock song, you know, like through and through, it's a rock record. And also, you know, Thriller, which is a pop song, you know, it's pop and everybody can listen to it. Billie Jean. Billie Jean has like R&B elements, but it is also a pop record. And then also having like The Girl Is Mine, which is a ballad with Paul McCartney, who's a Beatle. You know, so like those key features that's on this album are, you know, not only white men, but white men who were hailed in the spaces of, you know, rock, like Eddie Van Halen, and then also Paul McCartney, who's a Beatle, you know. And so he was kind of like aligning himself and being adjacent with those people who are, you know, respected and successful in those spaces, because he wanted to be seen as someone that was a pop act beyond just being, you know, R&B. Like he wanted to be like, you know, I think I forget who said it. I actually Stephanie Mills. She said it, you know, back when they were friends and like they briefly dated when they did, I think around the time when they did The Wiz on Broadway. And she was saying, like, you know, they just kind of drifted apart because of like the trajectory of where he wanted to go in his career. And she is, you know, R&B and soul royalty, rightfully so. And she was saying that Michael Jackson, you know, he wanted to be seen and respected in the spaces that like white men were in music. Like he wanted to be as big as Elvis Presley. And, you know, and just because of like, you know, those elements and just how hard he worked and what he was, where he was aiming for in his career, you can see how that transition was from Off the Wall into Thriller. And so, you know, it was, I feel like as well as it's a great album, I feel like he was very strategic with this album and how it was put together. And of course, like, you know, you have Quincy Jones, you know, and he's worked with everybody from like Frank Sinatra to, you know, like literally like he's like Quincy Jones has been, you know, he's done classical music. He's written, you know, symphony pieces, and now, like, and then he was doing pop music and all these things, doing scores for for albums, I mean scores for films. And to see him, make this pop album. So, like, even though Quincy Jones is a black man, he has that classical background, and the being skilled in a way where he has the variety to understand, like, okay, Michael's doing, he's an R&B artist, but he wants to dabble into these other genres. So I feel like Michael Jackson just had like the perfect components to masterfully put together an album like Thriller to achieve the goal that he wanted. And the goal was really for him to be the biggest artist and to have like the highest sales. And like he said to Stephanie Mills, was to be like an Elvis Presley, and transcend genre. And Thriller was that album. Even though personally my favorite is Off the Wall, but I see why Thriller is often in these lists as the number one album. And I see, like, looking at the people that he collaborated with in the songs, and if you sonically hear what songs are what on the album, it makes sense why it was the success that it was, and it was intentionally crafted to be that way. And and I mean, it's like I said before, it's a dope album sonically, but I feel like he did this album strategically as well, which is why it's one of the best selling, if not the best selling album of all time. Um, shout out to Michael Jackson. And rest in peace, legend. All right. Now, the last album. We have The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Now, I know there's a lot of controversy around Miss Lauryn Hill being number one. Um, and a lot of people were complaining about it, like, oh, it's not the best album, this and that. Like, I get it. I get it. But like I said, I'm not butthurt about this list because I understand what it is. And I understand there's always going to be somebody upset. Like, anytime these lists come out, there's never anyone that's like, wow, this was a great list. This was done right. Like, there's always going to be somebody mad, especially when you do a list that spans across genres. Like, if it were just like a R&B list, then that'd be different. Or if it was an R&B list for a specific decade, then that's when you can kind of put something together that can be a little bit more like, people will feel like, okay, this makes more sense. And then there's less room to argue. Maybe people will argue the order of albums, but the albums that would be normally missing on a list like this, it would probably be included if it were more specific. But the fact that there's 100 best albums across genres, and a lot of these albums, like, I'm not sure how the voting process, how I'm still unsure of how they put it together, even though, like I mentioned before, that it was said that certain people, like journalists and writers and people that worked at Apple Music, picked their top 25 albums, and somehow they put it together from that. I feel like even still, like, how do you put the order together? How do you narrow it down? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so either way, like, you're not going to make anybody happy. There's always going to be people upset. But I was just happy that, Miss Lauryn Hill from Newark, New Jersey, a black woman, with a classic album. This is a classic album. Like, to be like, let's be very clear. Like, whether you're upset about where it is on the list or not, it's a classic album. And that's undisputable. So, shout out to Miss Lauryn Hill. And I was happy for her because, like I said, a queen from North New Jersey. Shout out to Brick City, where I happen to have landed on the planet, or so I'm told. I don't know. I don't know. I could have been put together in a lab somewhere, and I wouldn't have known. But I don't know. But to my knowledge, I was born in Newark, so shout out to Miss Lauryn Hill and the miseducation of Miss Lauryn Hill. So let's get into it. All right, let's look it up. Whoo, child. All right. We have 2 hours and a half. All right, hopefully this won't take too long. But I was hoping that most of these rock ones that I was skipping would speed it up. But you know, it is what it is. So anyway, all right. So you just lost one. It's so silly. How come you just lost one? You know, bops. And and the thing that makes Lauren Hill as great as she is the fact that she's a lyricist and a singer, and she's great at both. It's not like she's like just kind of okay rhymer. Like, no, she's actually phenomenal. Um, and Lost One, she's kind of like talking her shit there on that record. And we got X Factor, to Zion, Doo Wop, that thing, Superstar, Final Hour, When It Hurts So Bad. Um, I used to love them, Forgive Them, Father, Child I Be Trying. Every ghetto, every city, Nothing Even Matters. Everything is Everything, Miseducation of Lauren Hill, Can't Take My Eyes Off of You, Tell Them. Okay. So I recently did a listen through of this album like a few months ago, not too long ago. And there were some songs on here that I like forgot about, that I haven't heard in a long time. But I'm just happy that a black woman is at the top of this list. And you know what? I will disconnect this real quick. Oh, can I? Oh, I don't know what I'm doing here. Okay, hold up. All right, so I'm going to screen share the track list. Okay. All right. So, X Factor is a bop. To Zion, I love that song so much. Um, I feel like every time I hear that, well, not every time that I hear that song, but every now and then I hear that song and cry, just because I feel like the sentiment is just so beautiful, and just like how the song's put together. And then she has Carlos Santana playing guitar on this record, and and she's singing about how she got to the success in her career, and she's working on her solo album, and she was pregnant with her son at the time, and they're like, you're messing up your career, you're having a baby at the peak of your career, and this and that, like basically like people trying to pressure her into like possibly having an abortion, but she's like, nah. And it's that lyric where she's like, look at your career, they said, Lauren, baby, use your head. But instead, I chose to use my heart. Now the joy in my world is in Zion. But yeah, and that I'm like, every time I hear that lyric, I'm like, and it's so simple of like, the world telling you to like think smart, but she's like, nah, I'm a I'm gonna use my heart. And then recently, when she had her performance, I think she was on tour, and she brought out her son Zion, and she's like, this is the Zion that I was singing about. And I'm just like, and he's all like grown up now, and I'm just like, you go ahead, and just like that song is just so beautiful. It's such a beautiful song sonically, lyrically. And then like at the end, when it's marching, 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 beautiful, beautiful Zion. I know I'm like not singing the right notes right there, but you get the point. And then like the high note that she hits at the end, oh my gosh, it's like it gives me chills every time. Doo Wop, that thing, she's spitting bars on this record, and she's singing the harmonies. I feel like I've done this breakdown before. I feel like I've already done this. Um, you know, okay, not here, but because I remember like doing a discussion talking about these songs. But either way, whatever. And then, throughout that thing, that song was ahead of its time. I feel like I should have heard this song more in my life. But we learn our lessons. And she's just telling us as a community, we need to, girl, you better watch out. Some guys are only about that thing, that thing. But a bop, nonetheless, a doo wop, bop bop. And then we have Cardi B and Megan the Stallions WAP. Different kind of a WAP, but a WAP nonetheless. Um, anyway, um, yeah, I used to love him about Forgive Them Father. Yeah, every ghetto, every city song written about, Brick City. And the thing is, like, okay, I didn't grow up in Newark. I mean, I've had like moments in like in my childhood and stuff like that, and and family there or whatever. But I didn't know all the landmarks that was mentioned in that song. But hey, shout out, shout out to Brick City. Um, Nothing Even Matters. Oh my gosh, such a beautiful duet with her and D'Angelo. Isn't there a record on here with Mary J. Blige? I think that's I think it's I Used to Love Him, right? They don't got it on here. Okay, let's see. I'm like, where is the track list? Oh wait, here we go. Yeah, I Used to Love Him has Mary J. Blige. Okay, you got Carlos Santana, you got Mary J. Blige, Carlos Santana. Let's get that right. Mary J. Blige and D'Angelo on as features. Man, amazing. Nothing Even Matters, man. I love that song so much. And when that comes on the radio, every time, it's just like such a smooth love song, and their voices complement each other so well. And and the skies and fall, not even if my birds call. The world seems so very small. Nothing even matters. And and the harmonies and like the vocal like stackings that they do. Oh my gosh, it's so good, so good. And when it comes to Lauren Hill not samples, collaborations, her and D'Angelo. First of all, her and D'Angelo on this album, and then just at the time, right? And then you have like Voodoo that probably came out like not too long or from this point, but just the quality of R&B music during this moment in time in existence. But I mentioned this before. I think I said this on my TikTok post that I would love to see Lauren Hill and Erica Badu like collaborate, because they were really like they pretty much like had a trajectory in their careers at the same time. And and when it comes to like that neo soul R&B, I feel like their sound goes hand in hand, either like Lauren Hill and Erica Badu, or Jill Scott. But I really want to see her and Erica. But I think Jill Scott in the mix would be dope too. Like if they like all three of them would do a record together, like that'd be really dope. Um, yeah. So okay, that's. I mean, and then Can't Take My Eyes Off of You. Apparently, that's a hidden track, but if you listen on streaming platforms, it's you can hear it on there. But but yeah, I was thinking maybe I should have did this more. I like this setup better. Like, if I can show y'all stuff and then it's like, okay. Like, cause I feel like it's either like to make it even, this screen is too small, or I'm too small in the corner. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like this is a really good, it's a new feature that they have here on Restream. Shout out to Restream for this feature. I like it a lot. And I would have shown the track listing more throughout this process, but I'd have had to like keep going back and forth between the lists and the track list and all that stuff. And I was like, But for the last song, I was like, look, I don't have any more albums to show, so we'll just do that here. All right. Anyway, my God, this was. I said I was going to complete this list, and I did it because I'm a woman of my word. And this was it. I get it. Like, some people are upset that it was the number one album, and I know there's a lot of controversy with this album because, like, the people who helped produce it with her, and the instrumentalists, like, there was like a lawsuit and everything with it. But like, you can't deny the songs, and you can't deny these albums, and I mean, the song and this album. And and she says she's supposed to be coming out with new music soon. I would love to hear it. Now, like a full project, a full Lauren Hill project. And I mean, but the fact that she had one solo album and has been touring this album for decades, and I mean, of course, she has stuff with the Fugees too, and and that's really dope. But this album, and another album on this list where she accumulated 5 Grammys off of this. And just to have like a Lauren Hill appreciation moment. And something that Ebro said on, I think, Rap Life, was that when they presented her this award because she had the best album, he was saying that you can tell that it was like she really appreciated the moment because, like, there had been like so much controversy around her. And and sometimes, you know I guess he was saying, like, he might not have been used to her, like, she might not have been used to, like, getting recognition and being appreciated because of so much, like, people like complaining about, like, the late shows, and the thing with the taxes and all that stuff, and, like, and, like, her name being impressed for negative reasons. Even though, like, she performs and she sells out shows, sometimes that negative feedback could get to you as an artist. And so, and he was saying, like, he can tell that she really appreciated the moment, just because, like, she doesn't get her flowers as often as she should. And also, it reminds me of the moment where which I think I mentioned when I was talking about Kanye, where the infamous moment where Kanye, stepped on Taylor's moment, was like, Beyonce had the best video of all time. He was right, but it was just, he could have did it different. And then, and not too many people talk about Beyonce, like, coming up and letting Taylor have her moment, which was a very classy thing to do, right? And Beyonce's really good at that. Like, she's good at being a class act, and when it's her moment to shine, she'll let other women shine too. And I'll give her credit for that. And having Taylor come back out when she received the award at that VMAs, and then having Taylor Swift come out. And I say that because there was a BET Awards where I think she got, like, best R&B award, and presenting her award, they had, like, Mindless Behavior up there, and somebody else, I forget. Sorry to whoever was up there with them. And presenting the award, they made a joke about Lauren Hill, because at that time she was in headlines for, like, her tax situation or whatever. And so when Beyonce received the award, she used that to say, like, in receiving this award, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for the R&B women that came before me that opened the doors, like a Lauren Hill. And so she used that moment to shine a light on Lauren Hill, even though, like, them kids ain't right that in the show. It was whoever was doing the teleprompter, stuff. They was just up there reading what they had to read, but it was dope to see her use that moment to be like, she could have just accepted her award and kept it pushing, but she was like, no. I want to salute the women like Lauren Hill who came before me and opened the doors, and without her there wouldn't be me to even be up here to accept this award. So, and that was such a classy thing to do. And and I feel like Lauren Hill doesn't get her flowers enough, so I was excited for her when she got the top of the list. Now I knew that there was people who probably was going to feel away and be like, "Oh, she doesn't deserve it," you know. It shouldn't be her or whatever. It's not the best album, and there's people who definitely said that. But you know, shout out to a classic album by the Lauren Hill, Jersey's own. Shout out to Jersey. And yeah, and so we'll end it on that note. So thank you all for watching this live stream. There are four parts, and the fourth part is finally complete. I said I was gonna do this live stream, and I did. Because I could have did it a while ago, but I was working on musical things, right? And I just really wanted to get this done. Even though this is already like the list is already out there, people have already done their think pieces, but I was like, I'm just going to talk about the whole list and do it in one live stream. But then as I was going through the list and like the time was going by, I'm like, okay, this is going to take me longer than I thought. And so I was like, okay, let me just break this up into four parts. And shout out to the albums that I didn't know because it made it go by a little bit faster. So yeah, but here we are at number one with the miseducation of Lauren Hill. And I'm glad that she's getting her flowers. She deserves, and I feel like, there's a lot that, people can complain about. I know there was like, I'm not even going to get into it. I'm not going to get into it. But there's people that can say, like, she's a little bit of a diva behind the scenes. And, I feel like there's more to her that we don't understand. I feel like there's a misunderstanding of Lauren Hill as well. And just like the things that she has to go through behind the scenes. And you have to think, like, the fact that she even was able to rise to the fame that she was able to and the acclaim, being the type of artist that she is, was a miracle in itself. Like, for her to be a brown, darker skinned black woman with natural hair, in what, the late 90s, early 2000s, where, I mean, you had artists like Erica Badu and Jill Scott and India Irie kind of in those spaces. But that was kind of when we were starting to see like the video vixens kind of like get more popularity. And then, this is when like the Little Kim prototype was brewing and building at the time, right? And to see someone like Lauren Hill be able to hold and occupy the space that she was able to at that time and be celebrated for it. And in her natural hair, and the fits that she was rocking, not conforming to like, okay, you have to be a sex symbol, and for the quality of the music was a miracle in itself. And then you have to think, like, as time is going by in the industry, even though people are saying like, okay, you need to put out another album, strike while the iron is hot type of thing, and just the type of artist that she is, it just so happens that these classic records were hits, but they're not just hits because like they sound like pop hits. They're hits because they're good music. And it was during a time when good music was popular. And and just for her to be the artist that she is, to stay true to her integrity and to be authentic to her experience, she's not one of those people that can just pop out these albums and just make hits, with the type of music that she does, and the type of artist that actually cares about the intention behind her lyrics and intention about the message of an album and putting the songs together. And just like even the theme of this album having like the skits from the kids talking in the classroom and the teacher kind of like guiding the conversation, and kids talking about love and what that looks like in their experience, and then just having that woven throughout the album. Like, you can clearly tell that this was a project done with intention. So to try to rush her and try to say, oh, you need to put out another album, it's like, okay, well, she's not an artist that you just rush into making music. I feel like she's an intentional artist. She's careful about, her lyrics and, what she's saying in her song, the message. Like, to even have a song about, people trying to even pressure her into, having an abortion for her career. And she's battling with the decision of planning for motherhood, and and love, and just issues in the culture, and self-respect. Like, she made a bop out of, like, women and men finding self-respect. Like, respect is just the minimum. Like, this is the type of artist that we have here. So it's not like you just going to get like a club banger that you could just whip up in a second, And she even said in an interview, or either interview or like a documentary or something like that, where, at that time she was touring all the time. And so, she didn't really have enough life experience to put into another album. Her only experience was going on tour, getting into the studio, going on tour, getting into a studio. So she wasn't even like at home experiencing love, spending time being a mother, dealing with the woes of life, the normal inspiration that would go into putting an album together. And so, you can't just rush an artist like Lauryn Hill, is essentially what I'm saying. She's not just going to give you fluff and, the things that's going to sell. She's going to give you music that's of quality. And if you want quality, sometimes quality takes time. So, with an album as amazing as The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, and, um, and her, in all her glory, and all her creativity, and her talents, her lyricism, her vocals, and still being able to sell out performances. As much as people complain about her being late, she still sells out these performances. And, and still is able to perform sets off of this album that came out however many years ago, right? And she did, like I said before, she mentioned that she's going to be working on music. And, I'm excited for her. I think, she deserves a moment to shine. And I'm sure that with everything that's going on through the years, with people talking about her and all these things, that can be something that she channels into her music. And, I would love to hear her perspective and just what she has to say about the state of the world, and what she, I would love to hear from Lauryn Hill as like the mother of however many kids she got right now. At how old is she? Hold on, let me just look this up real quick. You know, because I forget, however old she was when she made this album was just amazing in itself. But okay, I would love to hear Lauryn Hill at the age of 49 going on 50, or she just turned 49 at the end of May. So happy belated birthday, Miss Lauryn Hill. um I would love to hear life, like her perspective as an artist, and a full album about life as a mother, going through the issues with the taxes, people complaining about her being late, the behind the scenes industry stuff that we don't know about record labels and deals and albums, and and how the industry has changed, and the stuff that goes on in her personal life that we might not know anything about, maybe like some grief, or joys that she goes through, and different relationships. I would love to hear Lauryn Hill at almost 50, and just all the things that she's been through these years in the industry without even putting out an album. I would love to hear that aspect now. And I would love to hear her spin rhymes, and putting melodies together, and and I'm sure it would be nothing short of amazing, because it's Lauryn Hill and I trust her judgment. And even though people like to complain about the like unplugged performance, I think the only complaint that you can say is that the songs were unfinished. But for what it was, there were good songs on there. So I don't know Lauryn Hill to make bad music. There might be songs that you might not like all the way, but it's never a bad song. So shout out to Lauryn Hill. Shout out to her being on the top of the list. A girl from Jersey, a black woman, who is a skilled lyricist, a skilled writer, talented vocalist, and just an overall dope artist that I feel like doesn't get enough flowers that she should. So, Lauren Hill, wherever you are on the world, congratulations. You are a queen, you are a goddess, and you deserve to be celebrated. So, you being celebrated over here. Um, and with that said, now we're going to conclude this. And I just want to thank everybody who stopped on by, watched this live stream. I hope you enjoyed it. It is almost 3 hours, but I did it. It's done, it's complete, and it's out here for you to rewatch and enjoy my perspectives about some of this music. And, I tried my best to keep it cute and not be too controversial. I don't know. No, the controversy definitely like slid out a bit because I mean I don't know. I can't help it, but I will be controversial for a cause. Okay, because that's just how I am. Um, but it's your girl Narisse, the girl that you love to love, and the hottest artist, the hottest unknown, most popular artist out here. Um, manifesting, of course, manifesting. Even though Divine didn't make it on this list, but it's an EP that I put out years ago at this point. Um, stream Divine, purchase Divine on Narisse.com. It's currently under construction, but maybe if people watch this in the future, it'll be up. We got, like I said before, we got CDs and flash drives. I gotta be a hustler in these streets too. Okay, everybody on this list, they made their money, so I gotta make my money too. So you can cop you a purple Divine record. I burned it myself. I packaged it in iridescent, holographic bags where it reflects like a rainbow. It was really cool. I wrote on it myself, so you can count this as a signature. Who knows how much it'll be worth. And then we got limited edition color flash drives. We got a few left. I have green, orange, and pinkish reddish. Flash drives are amazing. It has the EP on there, a lyric book because I wrote all the songs. So I have a lyric book that I designed and put together myself, so you can read along to the lyrics as you're listening to the song. Each flash drive have different sets of pictures from photo shoots from around the visuals that I put together for these projects. My merchandise campaign photo shoot is on there, as well as the video that I directed, styled, edited, did the lighting, did the set design, and did the narration and the vocals for that whole visual project. So that video is on the flash drive, as well as affirmations, because I'm that kind of girl. I love a good affirmations. I'm all about prayer and trying to be intentional about the words, because I believe in the power of the tongue, and I try my best to be good about that, and speak good onto the planet and onto life. So I wanted to make sure my village folks have a good word with them, so there's affirmations on there. And also, if you want to see the whole process of me even making these flash drives in the first place, like flash drives are what had me started live streaming anyway. And now those live streams were kind of rough because I was going back and forth between like live streaming on my computer and on my laptop. My background was crazy. You saw my room. I mean, my room looks kind of crazy now, but I'm sure if you're watching on the Truman Show, you probably already seen it. But I try to give it aesthetic when I'm on my live streams. You know what I mean? Like I give you a little curtain. Usually, if I'm doing creative projects, there's different lighting. We got guitars as like decor, but I do actually play these instruments. I know y'all can't really see my microphone right now, but we have like a mic, and I have like some leafy decor because I'm all about aesthetics. And yeah, it's just a vibe. It's a vibe, darling. It's a vibe. Despite the chaos and the shenanigans and foolery that goes on in Trenton, New Jersey, I try to show up and be a good time because I am. And it's everybody else's loss. Um, anyway, yeah, so support the art, support the creativity. I also have sage and palo santo and some shells that are on my website, as well as merchandise. There'll be some new merch at some point soon, so that'll be a thing. What else? Like, comment, subscribe, share with folks that if you were going through a debate talking about this list, share this with somebody so they could binge watch these live streams. And if you enjoy watching an artist in their creative bag and see like watching the behind the scenes of a creative process, subscribe here, because I have been working on beats. I have been producing and live streaming that process. I've been working on vocals. I've been doing covers, and then when I do the covers, I like to um, add harmonies and stuff like that. That's been a new thing as of the last few years of my like visuals. So you can watch me build the harmonies and figure out how I'm gonna layer vocals and do my vocal productions. And yeah, I'm trying to think what else. And then eventually I'll actually post those covers and the projects. It's coming. It's coming. It's just all about like timing and putting it together the right way. So so y'all will get it when I put it out there. And what else is there? Follow me on social media. I'm primarily posting on TikTok, like I said before. My artist TikTok is at underscore Narisse, spelled like this right here. I can't put my hand under it because y'all can't really like see, but this Narisse, that's how you spell it. And my pop culture account, if you'd like to hear me share my perspective and ideas of what's happening in pop culture, in the music and film and stuff like that, follow at NarisseM on TikTok. And then Instagram and whatnot, I'll post on there every now and then. I've been posting there a little bit more recently, but not a whole lot. Because I'm trying to like figure out the TikTok game. So, well, for however long it's on there. But yeah, be sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow me on Kick. If you're on YouTube, follow me on Kick too. If you want Kick, follow me on YouTube. Let's get these subscribers up so we can be monetized, because I got bills to pay. Shout out to these artists on this list, on this 100 albums list, whether I know you, don't know you, or really love the work. They made their money, I gotta make mine too. So support your girl. And like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you very much. And respectfully, only if you enjoy the vibes. If not, it's okay. I'm not your cup of tea, that's fine. But if you like having a good time and you like a little bit of controversy with the cause, um and like some think pieces where I'm talking music, I'm talking my perspective about life, and challenging the status quo, being a loner, a black sheep, and just navigating this world, being misunderstood as a creative. If that's your vibe, this is a space for you. But I'm not here for the trolls and the trolling shenanigans. If you want to be trollish, you can trolley poly your way off my channel. So yeah, this is about, I want this to be a safe space. I want this to be a good time. I want people to have fun. And I share my perspectives and stuff about music, because like it's not just like uh just a thing to talk about here. Like, I actually really care about this music thing. I care to know about what happens in the behind the scenes. I've studied this a lot. Like, so I'm not just like giving these opinions out my ass. Like, I'm literally sharing information that I've like studied and accumulated about a lot of these artists. And then also sharing my own experiences and opinions, and and stuff like that. And who wouldn't want to hear that, since people have so much to say about my life. um but might as well hear from me. And I try to make it entertaining. I make it entertaining, darling. Are you not entertained? um Shout out to the gladiator. um but yeah, all right. So I think I did all the marketing that I could do on here. um thank you all for watching. Okay, that's right, I like to end on a high vibrational note. So I think usually the last few live streams I've been doing prayers. I think this one we'll do a sound bowl. Since it's a musical live stream, we'll keep it on the musical side of things. So give me a moment. Ooh, oh, she heavy. All right. So I think I will do. Chad, I got these heavy ass sound bowls. I'm like trying to think which one. I'm really feeling this orange here, and I don't know. I feel like that's been the theme lately, whether it be the Truman Show producers or just like me tapping back into my sacral chakra. Um, but I just placed that there. All right, so we're gonna do a little sacral chakra healing. It is the second chakra. It's so your sacral chakra is known to be like right around like a womb area if you're a woman, or like your lower abdominal space, to make that gender neutral anatomy reference. And um and it represents creativity as well as like sensuality and sexuality. And I think that goes hand in hand, just because like if you want to think of like procreation, you're creating life with your womb and sacral area, if you're a woman, but then also like men too. And I feel like that can be a space of healing as well as generating creativity, because you literally create life with that area, but then also like creativity in a means of, if you're a musician, music, or if you're creative in any way, if you do like photography, or or if you make jewelry, or whatever it is that you create, if you're like a painter, um you know your sacral chakra governs that area. And I think people who might have took the time to watch this live stream, you to some degree have either a desire or interest in creativity and music. So let's do a little bit of healing and a balancing and realigning our sacral chakra. So without further ado. All right, y'all. All right, let me just put this together. Thank you all so much for being a part of the live stream. I hope you all enjoyed. Um, I don't know. I think I'm gonna take a break a little bit. I don't know. I might get back on here a little, because I was working on a beat yesterday, and I don't know. I feel like I kind of want to add a little bit more to it, so I might get back on here. I might not. I don't know. We'll see. But if not, then maybe tomorrow, possibly. But definitely for Monday. Like where you can really expect me is on Monday. I think right now we're doing Music Monday and Fire Friday. And I might do another live stream day. We'll see. We'll see. Um, but I do want to have consistent days when I work on music, and you can expect to watch the creative process. whether it be me recording vocals or producing beats or recreating songs or doing covers. Either way, musical things will be happening, and you can watch along for the process. And that's what Music Monday and Fire Friday are going to be for now. And then I'll probably, oh, excuse me, um think I might do like another type of a live stream where I like talk and discuss like music or whatever. I gotta figure out how I want to do this. This was just like a limited edition series type of thing, right? Talking about like the 100 best albums list. And I like talking music, and I gotta figure out like a type of structure where, or what kind of like platform I'll do that, where I'll discuss what's happening in pop culture, and and that could just be its own thing. But for the most part, I'm mostly on here doing music, and yeah, and you can expect to see me then. But every now and then I might just pop on here and do a random live stream, and because I'm in the mood to work on some music. But I'm right now I'm working on two beats, or well, one song is already done for most part production wise. I just have to like clean up the parts and like get my engineering skills together. So um that should be an interesting process, because when I listen to this track that I'm working on front end, it's like Pharrell inspired production, Mariah Carey inspired vocals, and I did the vocal part, but when I listened to it in headphones, like it's a lot going on. It's already a lot going on with the beat because it's like very percussion heavy and like chords and brass heavy. So sonically, like it's a lot going on melodically, and then vocals, I'm doing like harmonies, and it's a lot happening, and I want to make sure it sounds good. And the thing is, because I'm live streaming, I have been recording without headphones, which I know is just not good to do, but just for the sake of recording this content for the live stream, I'll do that. But when I go back and listen to it, the music in headphones, it's like, maybe not. Maybe that's not the process. So, yeah, so I got to figure out a happy medium to, record in a way that's entertaining so you all can be a part of the process and be able to hear as I'm working on it, as well as for me to record it and just have like the cleanest vocals and just like the cleanest engineering in the meantime. So, for now, I'll I don't know, we'll figure it out. But yeah, it's not giving what's supposed to be gave. And yeah, I'm just trying to figure it out, and I'm learning as we go too, because it was my first time sampling with the last live stream where I made the um beat sampling from Game of Thrones, which, shout out to Game of Thrones. I know House of Dragons supposed to be coming on tomorrow, so if that's your vibe, let me know in the comments below. Yeah, so yeah, House of Dragons is coming on. I don't know. I don't know if I want to watch it because I don't have HBO Max right now, and I'm trying not to be on like streaming platforms like watching TV. Even though like I watch TV on YouTube a lot. Well, like I've been watching YouTube a lot. Um, and I know I need to get back into like practicing and working. But I'm working on music though, so I'm not like not productive. And I'm really trying to build. I've been posting content, and I'm trying to build my social media platforms. But yeah, what was I getting at? Oh yeah, so I don't know. I think I might like wait until the series is done, or I might watch along. I don't know. We'll see. So we'll see how that goes. But in the meantime, yeah, I'm working on a beat sampling a sound from Game of Thrones, which I mean I'm sure folks already know about. Um, and yeah, you get to watch the process. So yeah. That's kind of what I'm currently working on. But until then, um, I will see you guys when I see y'all. Okay, now I'm actually getting off this live stream. All right, much love to you guys. Have a great night. If I get back on here, then just look out for the live button. If not, then I'll might see y'all tomorrow. If not tomorrow, definitely on Monday. So I don't know. It's up in the air. We'll see. I'll post about it. Just if you're subscribed to me, then you'll get the update and you'll know. Yeah, subscribe and turn on your notifications. That's what some of these that's what the YouTubers be saying. Whatever the YouTubers be saying, do that shit over here too. Like, comment, subscribe, save it, put it on a playlist. I don't know, turn on the notification bell, you know, all those things, right? But only if you really want to be in this space and you really enjoy the content and my perspective and my creativity. If you're here trying to troll, this isn't the space for you, and that's okay. I'm not playing refrigerator chess games here, and shenanigans with the chats and whatever. Is she going to say what the witches wrote on the script? Fuck the witches and fuck the script. Burn the script, and I don't know, beat the witches. Not beat them, but like you know, fuck them witches and tell them to get a life. But this is of course science fiction on the Truman Show. But anyway, I kid, I joke. Um, anyway, all right, this is really actually ending. So again, have a great night. See you guys later, and follow my stuff on social media, and you know, follow the girl that you love to love, and help me fight these witches in the Truman Show.